By the way, so much for them not having.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining us today on this Thursday, 27th of June, 2024. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Rumble, and Pill.net.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment and hit that thumbs up button if you're over on Rumble or on YouTube. Take that red pill if you're over on Pilled, and smash that heart if you're over on X.
Yep. Appreciate that. Make sure you give out that digital love. We always appreciate it, and it helps us out tremendously.
It's like a little virtual hug.
It's a little virtual hug, and make sure you share with your friends too.
Exactly.
That's always appreciated as well.
Exactly. We got Aaron in the house.
What's up, Aaron?
Apparently, F. Clint is a professional zombie killer now.
Well,
Can't
you
be
can tell
bothered with chat disputes.
You can tell he's doing a good job, because when's the last time you've seen an actual zombie?
Exactly.
Good job, F. Clint.
Good job, Lightspear.
What's up, Lightspear? How you doing? Bethany Ann.
Bethany. And again, just in case you missed my little spill,
there's, thumbs up, heart, and red pill. We do appreciate it.
We do. We do so very much. Let's see.
Yeah, people are showing up here.
Exactly.
They've been chatty today.
We got Miss Jan.
Graham Jan. How you doing, Jan?
Got Steph in the house.
What's up, Steph?
Got Wendy.
What's going on, Wendy?
Let's see. Ghost Pepper in that
What's
house.
up, Ghost Pepper? Ghost Pepper here today. Nice. Make me happy.
Exactly.
All right. Y'all make me happy.
Exactly. Very much so. So we will be streaming.
We shall.
The debate.
Debate.
If that's what you want to call it.
How can it be a debate if there's only one person that understands that they're like having a debate?
I know.
Okay.
But, until that happens in about an hour and a half, we're going to proceed with normal show. Exactly, Aaron. Debate. So, without further ado.
Oh, we're just jumping right into it.
We need to, because we have a lot to get through before
the debate.
Before the debate.
All right.
Let's go.
All right.
We're going to talk about Seth Rich.
Ooh.
I think it's about time people understand what happened. Seth Rich worked for the DNC. He was asked, just like he was asked, hey, why don't you go image the DNC server right there since you're there for us so we can keep it safe? And he did so. And he uploaded it where he was told. So he uploaded it where he was supposed to. And there were a lot of me's that saw it. So we find this and it's like, whoa, treasure trove. Copied. And we fractioned it so that way we can download it because it was so massive. That's what happened. So I'll tell you what happened to Seth Rich. So he did his job as he was asked. At the same time, the RNC was also hacked. Again, Brennan MO, let's hack. And the hack was done on purpose so you can delete information, insert information, and of course, with them putting Cambridge Analytica and sending them over to President Trump, which was a trap. Okay, that was a trap. They hacked the RNC. You mean you had someone within the GOP do it for you because no one died there. And yes, some of those emails escaped because that is what was considered mitigation. You have to give them something really bad. And so when he saw that they had retroactively changed things, the stories and the rumors going in, seeing that Bernie Sanders elections were being stolen, the DNC was all about Hillary, not about real elections, that it was all rigged, he came in contact with a guy named Sean Lucas.
But we did make contact with somebody from the Democratic National Committee's office, and they've been served. Democracy has prevailed today.
So they decided, oh yeah, maybe we can get it out to someone else. And it was not to Julian Assange direct. And both of those guys are dead.
In a bizarre twist of events, on August 2nd, less than 1 month after serving the subpoena, Lucas was reported dead.
Hillary's emails were still being examined. They had to get rid of the evidence. And the only way that they can access the whole DNC server is if there was a breach. And that's how you can go in and change things. This is why the FBI never asked for the server. That's the real story. So as Seth Rich thought that what he was doing was correct, later on, he realized it was not. That's why there was such a big gap. They didn't need to find him. They needed to find out who had it. And they already knew that I myself had portions of the DNC server and others in March and February. Obama's lawyer for Seth Rich 3 years later says, you need to come and tell us about Seth Rich. I was like, I don't need to do anything. I don't know who you're trying to, you're being subpoenaed. I can't bring you anything because you're 3 years too late. And for the record, usually they're going to be 3 minutes too late. You know, Hillary doesn't have a patent on hammers or city dumps or bleach pit or, you know.
Didn't CrowdStrike initially investigate the DNC server, creating the whole Russia hacked the election scenario?
When the DNC hired us back in May, we actually came in and deployed our technology called Falcon on all the systems inside their corporate network.
Who were these people that were actually doing the hacking of the DNC?
There were two groups, two independently working groups that we associate with Russian intelligence agencies. One of them was associated with GRU, the primary military intelligence agency in Russia.
CrowdStrike, owned by that Alperovich guy, who is a senior advisor on the Atlanta Council. When President Trump called up the Ukrainian president, what did he ask him for? The CrowdStrike servers, right? Again, all immediate direct colleagues, like the brown bag lunch at this big, star chamber that you could imagine existing there.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
They're all there.
Yeah.
Just like, what can we do? Orange man bad. What is just statistical odds of that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon existing on virtually everybody connected to the Russian dossier and the impeachment? The only other person that directly connected to both of them is President Trump, and he's on the receiving end of it.
All right, Santino, thoughts?
So the whole Seth Rich saga, it's a treasure trove of information, and it certainly points so many directions of where the corruption is. I mean, we all pretty much know this at this point in time. But the thing is this information is going to be coming out. It's going to get hammered. Hey, Denise, it's going to get hammered out there. And this is what the people who are just waking up are going to need to see. They're going to need to see this information so that way they can try to, get an understanding of how deep this swamp really goes. And the fact that, Seth Rich was unalived, Seth Rich provided the information that, the FBI wasn't even bothering to look at. I mean, this is all great information. But the people that are waking up don't know this at this point in time because they've been too busy watching the television telling them what they should be thinking. So I'm glad to see that Seth Rich's name is going to live on, that information is going to keep getting pushed out, and that we need to make sure that we're pushing out that information about Seth Rich because of how many rabbit holes it leads to, and so much truth is in there. So yeah, really happy that the information is coming out and that people are asking that question. But the people who are just waking up aren't really going to know what they need to look at unless they, hear these things, the different rabbit holes. They need to know about the rabbit holes so that way they can go do the research for themselves, because you can't wake anybody up. People have to wake up on their own time. If anything, that's something that we've all learned is, you just throw out little nuggets right there, little breadcrumbs, dropping breadcrumbs. And then if something piques somebody's interest, it could be that one thing that will end up getting them to start diving, and then they can wake up other people as well. So yeah, very humbled about what Seth Rich went through, but at the same time, his sacrifice, his martyrdom, I guess, is very important to the cause. It'll be time. Wendy said,
Oh, go ahead.
Wendy says it'll be time for a margarita in a bit if I'm going to be able to listen to that idiot tonight.
Girl, I've been thinking the same thing. And hi, Brother Bill.
What's up, Bill? Glad to see you, man. Jan says, I just hope all that information hasn't been destroyed, given to Assange by Seth to release him. I don't believe it has. Because that information is in so many people's different hands at this point in time.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the saving grace here. But we'll see. And this data dump that's going to happen is going to be really, really awesome, especially now that Julian's out of prison.
Yeah.
Ish. We'll see how that one works out too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, copies were made, Denise.
Yeah. Joyful Lily.
Hey,
We've
Lily.
missed you.
We've missed you too. Thanks for joining. Look, all the old timers are coming up.
I
Not
know.
saying that y'all are old or anything.
No.
Not saying that.
Oh, geez.
The OGs.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. The
I
OGs.
believe that too. I believe copies were made.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, we're just going to have to see. Aaron says that data is on the web and nothing can truly be erased from the web. Sure loads have copies.
Oh, yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
agree. I agree.
Yeah, there's only one way to erase the entirety of the interwebs, and that's to get rid of it altogether.
Well, you could ask Al Gore since he invented it.
Yeah, Al Gore. Yeah, Al Gore has all that info.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny!
Watch
out for the frogs, Jenny. So, without further ado, the cliffhanger from yesterday.
Oh, yeah, the cliffhanger from yesterday. I forgot about the cliffhanger.
We got Doc.
And
I can actually call him that because now I know that's what people actually call him.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Here we go.
All right.
So get a load of this. Now that Hunter Biden has been found guilty on all charges, the left is resorting to their go-to line. Am I missing something here? Since when was Hunter Biden running for office? Maybe it's me that's missing something here. Since when do you have to be running for office before you can be prosecuted? Pretty sure anybody can be prosecuted whether they're running for office or not. I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. I just want to point this out. But why do you even care? I'm glad you asked that, Sugar Tip Mouse. You see, this is how the justice system is supposed to work. You don't have to be running for any kind of office or any kind of politician or any kind of important figure in order to be prosecuted. Oh, you mean like how Donald Trump was with his 34 felonies? You read my mind, Sugar Tip Mouse. That was exactly what I was going to bring up next. You see, there's a big difference between the Donald Trump case and the Hunter Biden case. You see, the Donald Trump case, you had to spend 8 long years throwing whatever sticks. Bragg had to go jury shopping, violated statute of limitation laws, violated the Constitution, committed prosecutorial misconduct, and then the verdict was leaked. So, that showed that it was a fixed jury, which is, again, jury misconduct. That didn't happen with the Hunter Biden case. You see how fast we got a verdict? You see, usually when there's a real crime, it don't take 8 years to find it. You don't have to go jury shopping. You don't have to break the law in order to get the law to work. That is not true. And you know that. That is all right facts. Why, sugar tip mouse, you look as if you're about to burst. Imagine voting for a guy who says he's actually going to be a dictator. Fourth wall break. The left loves to take people out of context. That's funny, sugar tip mouse, because I am voting for a guy who jokingly stated he was going to be a dictator. You actually elected a guy who became a actual real dictator. Offed 13 of our service members, offed thousands of Americans with his open border policy, and then even prosecuted those states for trying to secure their borders. Okay, I just want to point this out now, sugar tip mouse. No. And Trump says he's going to get rid of the Department of Education. Not really a good leader there. Oh, I hope he goes in there and cleans house. You see, our school systems are knee-deep in stagnation with unnecessary criteria. For example, affirming one's private life or gender has absolutely nothing to do with one's education. You are just a downright fascist. I can't believe you would say that. Like, you are a xenophobe, you're a homophobe, racist and white supremacist. Yada, 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 yada. Look, we've all heard that same old song and dance. Could you say something different for once? It's really kind of getting boring.
Thoughts, Santino?
It is getting kind of boring that they use the same old tired tropes.
I know.
So I love how he perfectly described each one of the steps that they go throughout their same old tired argument each and every time. It really is kind of predictable, isn't it? I mean, and I love Doc too. Doc's awesome. Yeah.
I know. I just.
Oh, and I will say he did.
Drugs, Lily. Lots of drugs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He'll probably be cleaning his nose off. That's the best thing that I can come up with.
Yeah.
He got so close to say when.
I know.
He was like really close.
I know.
Hopefully he'll get there.
I know.
We'll get there one day.
I'm hoping.
Say when. Say when.
So speaking of how Biden's going to do this debate.
Oh, God.
Listen.
All right.
Us too, Dad.
Hey,
Us
Dad.
too.
Tonight, the American people will tune in to watch a rigged debate with leftist hosts pretending to moderate. Biden's sham of a judicial witch hunt is as obvious to the American people as the amount of stimulants that Biden takes before his public appearances. Incoherent mutterings, lack of physical awareness, and wandering off demonstrate his cognitive decline. Ahead of tonight's debate, have no doubt his puppet masters will once again be administering a concoction of drugs to keep him awake, which is why I introduced the No Juicing Joe Act, which would require the White House to notify Congress and the American people when Biden takes anything for cognitive decline. America is the leader of the free world. We need a commander-in-chief who is capable of articulating a coherent sentence, aware of his surroundings, and can lead with strength. A president like Donald Trump.
Thought Santino.
The No Juice and Joe Act. That's really good. Well, I mean, they got to. I mean, we've seen how like he's changed tremendously from one day to the next, where he was very like lucid one day, but the day before he was wandering around and soiling himself because he had no idea who he was or what he was doing or why he was there. Right. So it would be nice, but we also see at the same time that the Democrats aren't going to do that. They're not going to allow Joe to get drug tested. Surprise, surprise. Hold your shock. Hold your surprise. The Democrats don't want to have that happen.
Exactly.
You know, whatever. Yeah, like he has something on under his coat.
I know. Denise, has anyone else here?
Circus music playing. It's going to be fun tonight.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a hoot.
Yeah.
I wonder are we going to get butt chin Joe tonight?
I don't know. Balchin.
Yeah, Balchinian. The Balchinian Joe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope we get Balchinian Joe.
Exactly. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Got Sean Ryan.
There we go. What's up, Sean Ryan?
Let's have a little chat about just being yourself. Probably the most freeing thing you could possibly do is just be yourself. You know, we live in this day and age where I think most of us realize the majority of what we see on the internet, social media, as far as personalities, man, it's just the majority of it's bullshit, you know, and I see people that I care about who are trying to become some type of a personality or start a business or whatever. And that's a good thing about social is, you know, you can really make some things happen. But what I'm talking about is, man, I see these people with like, I know them and they got such potential and such strong personality, so much. And then they get on social or they start something or they get a little traction and everything starts to change. And you see these people and you just, some of you know what I'm talking about. You see them and it's like, fuck, man, that's not you. I know you don't own a private jet. I know you don't act like a fucking tough guy everywhere you go like you do on social media. And all I'm going to say is, man, I've seen people that do this shit for more than a decade. And I look at them become slaves to the character that they've created on social media. And dude, that's like living in a fucking prison. That's not living free. And a lot of the people I'm talking about out there are veterans they've accomplished the unthinkable. And then they get on here and they succumb to the pressure and they become a slave to their own character. Could you imagine what it's like to wake up every single day and everywhere you go and everything you post is dictated by some fictitious character that you have or your ego has made to I don't know, to present yourself to the world. This is what I want everybody to think I am. Man, that shit has to be so exhausting. And man, just have the courage to be you. It's the most freeing thing. I can tell you this. One of the best compliments that I can receive or that I get is when somebody meets me and they say, man, you are the exact same person on camera as you are off camera. Apparently that's not the norm. Just have the courage to be you. If you're not, you're just living in a fucking prison.
That's a great video.
So when I was watching this earlier, getting ready, is exactly, influencers. It really, we say this all the time. Your ego is not your amigo. It's about being your authentic self. And honestly, guys, that's what you get from us every single day. This is just who we are. You guys see us fuss back and forth and talk from our heart and, really tell you guys how we feel. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do is just be you. Because why? Why be anything else but you? I mean, you can ask Bethany what you see here. She's had hours and hours of conversations with us, and we just are who we are.
I mean, we can get angry. We don't really show that here, but I mean, we're human, right?
Right.
But at the same time, the authenticity is speaking from your heart. And that's what we always attempt to do here is speak from our heart. Sometimes it resonates with other people, sometimes it doesn't, but we also understand that that's human. Like not everybody's going to agree with you. You can please all of the people some of the time or some of the people all the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time. So what does that leave? That leaves you being authentic to yourself. And that's, what better way is there than to be that? And so we do bring that authenticity as best as we can. I can't think of any times where we've adjusted much other than trying to learn some more patience on occasion. We've tried to learn some things, but at the same time, we are generally authentic. And if you ever feel that we're not being authentic, I would appreciate it if you'd call us out and let us know that you feel that way. Because I don't think that that's to be the case. But if y'all see something that I'm hiding from my own self, then by all means, make me a better person and let me know. Because I'd rather have that wisdom. Now, with that being said, can it be easy to let I mean, it's not like there's a whole lot of glitz and glam here, but at the same time, you want to put your best foot forward, just like anywhere else. But trying to act a certain way, trying to be the smartest person in the room, trying to get the last word in, stuff like that. I can see that desire to be something, but at the same time, it will be what will be, and we have no control over that. So we, really just try to be authentic. Thank you, Bethany. I appreciate that. So yeah, it's something that we should all do because people, win in life. People, oh, thank you very much. People in life, no matter what it is, no matter what you're doing, let's think about it. People get into management positions, and then all of a sudden, they feel that they have to act a certain way because they saw somebody do this and they saw that it was effective for them, but they're not recognizing that blah, 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 words are hard. That authenticity is what is lacking, because that might authentically be that person. Like when I had my mentor here, and he was trying to explain things to the best he could to people, and so I learned a lot from that man. But at the same time, I also recognize I'm not him. So therefore, I can't do things the way he did. I admire Victor Vale tremendously. I'm not Victor Vale. I'm not trying to be him. But what he does is effective for him. And that's great. And so I love it when people are authentic, because the message that people are trying to get out is what really shines through. And in the end, it's the message that matters more so than the individual.
Exactly.
I love Sean Ryan. That dude's awesome. I look forward to meeting him one day.
And we will.
We shall.
You ready?
Yeah.
We're going to have a little discussy shush, or however he says
Discussy scush. Well, yeah, you know what? I can't even say that. Well, I guess that's authentically him.
It is. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You want to assemble and gather because the Constitution says you can? Let's have a discussy-scush. The First Amendment in the Constitution of the United States states, Congress shall pass no law that prohibits the right to freedom of speech, that prohibits the right to freedom of press, that prohibits the right to assemble in order to peacefully protest, or prohibits the right to protest the government in order to redress any grievances. That's all fine and fucking dandy. But do you want to know what it doesn't say? That you are allowed to berate people who disagree with you. That you are allowed to get physical with people who disagree with you. That you are allowed to create mobs of fucking people in order to create chaos in your environment because people disagree with you or because you're trying to get your point across. I don't know what the fuck you think, but just yelling and screaming at people just because you want to convey a message does not automatically mean that those people are going to be accepting of what the fuck you're even talking about. Furthermore, why the fuck, if you are so proud about what you're protesting and what you're standing up for, why the fuck do you have a mask on covering your face? What, do you not want to be associated with what you're fucking proud of? I don't understand. You see, we are so quick to say, let's help these people out in this country out and these people out in this country out. But we don't want to help America, and we get upset when Americans are like, no, fuck that. Let's put America first. Let's close the southern border because there are people who are entering illegally who pose a threat to the American people. You guys get so bent out of shape when somebody gets mad at you for blocking the entrance of a building, for blocking roadways, for getting physical with people. We've seen it over the last fucking several years. This is an every 4 fucking year kind of thing. And you guys have the nerve to get upset? That's not how this shit works. Let's have a constructive debate. Let's talk about it. Stop screaming at people. You're preaching, oh, I want you to accept me, but you don't accept other fucking people. You don't accept other ideologies. It's a two-way fucking street, not a one-way street. I'm tired of driving on your side of the fucking road.
Thoughts?
I agree, F. Clan. People are mad though, and when people are mad, it's difficult to maintain. Yeah, the emotions. When the emotions are speaking loudly, then the language filter has a tendency to disappear.
Jenny.
Yeah, earmuff warning.
I honestly
She effing forgot.
I forgot to say earmuffs.
You did. Anyways, but the message, so let's go over the message is these people who want to be heard so desperately don't want to listen to anybody else. They have shut off the rest of the world. That's how we got to where we're at. And we accepted them because we realized that they were a fringe lunatic like section of society, what they call the rest of us, the fringe lunatics, right? But then again, that's part of the gaslighting that they do. And we recognize that this is gaslighting. It's, egotistical behavior, and it used to be called out. And I think that we're getting back to that point where we're going to start calling people out on their egotistical, ridiculous ways that aren't helping anything or anybody. And people need to, will eventually get told, you know what, you don't want to, you're not trying to have a discussion. So shut your face. You just want to be heard. Go get on a soapbox, stand in the city square. And if people want to go around you and listen to you, then that's fine. But don't sit there and try to silence everybody else. You don't have that right. Where in the Constitution does it say you have the right to silence anybody else?
Exactly. And I agree, Bethany. The sentence enhancers aren't needed, but he did get his point across, and he was definitely speaking from the heart. People are getting frustrated. They're very, very. Joyful Lily says, I'm waiting with popcorn in hand to see how crazy it gets by November.
Did anybody figure out how to...
Speaking of 4-year cycles.
Yes. Did anybody figure out how to do that margarita popcorn yet?
No,
y'all need to work on that. All
right. Jenny says he's right though about they're so passionate about things but cover their faces. Just proves they're paid actors. Central casting.
Yeah. Hold on. There we go. It's been a long time since we've done a boom around here.
I know.
Yeah. All right.
You ready?
Yep.
Speaking of fringe
lunatics,
crazy lunatics.
Is there an earmuff warning here?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. Honestly, it's been a long day.
Okay.
I'm tired of white people not taking accountability for their own actions.
Oh, this is going to take it down. Oh, it's going to take it down. Oh! Pot, meat kettle. I don't know what's more dangerous, this statement or your cholesterol level. Ha! I've been trying to figure out this whole video. What the fuck is on that wall behind you? Quick question. Do you know what an oxymoron is? Considering what your username is, I'm gonna say no. He has hashtag Biden 2020 in his tagline. Oh, yeah. Penalty! Too many men on the field. No, I think it needs another review. Challenge play. Penalty stands. Still too many men on the field. I would suggest you go outside and touch the grass, but it doesn't look like you've ever done that. Go for it. Your account has to be satire, bro. Like, it absolutely has to be. No one is this unhinged. On the right, anyway.
Thoughts?
There was a lot going on there, and he was yelling, and it was hard for me to understand what he was saying. But go ahead.
So this gentleman, using that term loosely, is upset that
Do they identify as one?
I guess so.
Okay.
That white people.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
need
White
to-
people are bad.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That we need to what? White guys. What do we do wrong other than breathe?
Everything.
We do everything wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah. You
What
guys
an
are
ignorant-
horrible people.
What an ignorant perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that is racism 101. And you can hate your own race if whatever that was white, whatever. But it's an ignorant perspective because, again, you're making broad brushstrokes. You're making broad brushstrokes and you're painting an entire class of human beings as all exactly the same. I find that offensive. Now, what does that get me? Absolutely nothing. Nobody cares that I find anything offensive. Yeah. Jenny says, typical white lib telling us what we're doing wrong to black people. Yeah. Thank God they're there to save the black people as if they need saving.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're quite capable on their own. And they've been dealing with some crap. I will agree, but it ain't because of anything I did. Ain't anything because of anybody did that I was friends with as I was growing up. Did I have people that may have been, racist? Yeah, but they also understood that I didn't appreciate that. I made it clear. Just like they made their opinions clear. Guess what? Everybody has a right to opinion. Doesn't mean I have to go to their Klan meeting if that's what they were involved in. No, they weren't. But
right.
What it does mean is they have an opinion. And that means that that's where they're at on their personal growth level. Guess what? This is a schoolhouse. We're here to learn. And people are going to say dumb things. But at the same time, this is the exact argument that they use to shut down so many people and prevent a conversation from happening by using those same tired antics that they've always used.
You see what Aaron
And they're
says?
just not going to work anymore. Aaron says, which white people? There are a lot of different white people. Boy, that's the truth. There are a lot of different white people.
Fatal Attractions.
What's up, Fatal Attractions?
Haven't seen you in a while.
Long time no
Welcome
see.
back.
Good to see you here.
You can't fight racism with racism.
No. And people know this. People know that you can't fight it. You can't you can't fight hate with hate and expect there to be love all of a sudden.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this person, they just need to observe.
Amen, Aaron.
Maybe they shouldn't speak as much.
Mhm.
But hey, whatever. Yeah, all of us have different levels of melanin.
I just happen to be clear.
She has none. We are all God's children,
Exactly,
Jenny.
Jenny.
Exactly.
So
it's just if just more people actually recognize that, we might actually do really good for a change. But as long as we continue to stay divided and have imbeciles like that, spouting their stupidity all over the internet, it makes it difficult because they've had too much of a say for too long.
Exactly.
But that's why it's changing. Denise says, been trying to find a psychological escalation chart. You don't know where I might find one, do you? I have no idea. That's a very good question.
Right.
Write that one down.
You ready?
Yeah.
Got Doc. And he shaved his beard.
What on earth? No, this is horse pucky.
I know.
This is CGI. This is a deep fake.
Hold on.
All right.
So I got to watch a fairy get arrested and go to jail today. So I come out of Sam's Club after doing some grocery shopping, and this fairy just brain fucked about 50 people because she was attacking a pedestrian sign. said that it was insensitive to non-binary individuals and was homophobic. This bitch was trying her hardest to rip that damn sign down, and she eventually succeeded. She then began to stomp on the sign and actually talk to the sign. So the police arrived, and the police officer stood there for about a good 4 minutes, trying to take in what he was observing. And I can only imagine what he was thinking. Is this shit really fucking happening? Is this bitch really throwing down on a non-living object? Really? And when the officer asked her why she did it, she had this to say. Because it is fascist. There are more genders than that. It only shows a man and a woman. That is homophobic. And that is offensive to non-binary people. I mean, the cop looked like he was about to have a stroke. Right. Ma'am, you have a right to remain silent. I mean, literally brain fucked the shit out of everybody. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The mental health problem in this country has reached crisis level.
Thoughts, Santino?
I remember Van Halen having an album that came out back in like the 80s. 5150. Anybody remember what 5150 meant?
No.
Because it's been a long time. Yeah, involuntarily restrained for mental issues.
We need a lot more of that.
We need a lot more of that 5150 code coming back out again. Like when people actually understood what 5150 was, like America was a lot better because people didn't listen to the crazy people, let alone lift them up on high so that way they had the voice to speak. Yeah, there you go, Bill. Police code. Thing is like
she
we don't
attacked a sign.
Well, yeah, it was an offensive sign. Wow. Like, okay, understand you want to redress for your grievances, but like, I love that. Start tagging post with hashtag 5150. Make Van Halen great again. Even though, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, heard so much about Van Halen. Makes me sad. But anyways, yeah, that is a good idea. Yeah, there we go, everybody. Start hashtagging on ridiculous post, hashtag 5150.
Exactly.
And the educational issues. And that's 100% as well, because that's where the encouragement comes from. As opposed to teaching people how they can get a redress for their grievances. No, you can just go throw a temper tantrum. You can block the streets. Go sit in the street. Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on.
I know.
But that's what they're encouraging these kids to do. And that's why they don't have the social skills that are necessary to be able to function in a rational society.
I know.
So, yeah, I think that's a great idea. We definitely need, that's a great idea. What was that, Denise? With the hashtag 5150?
Yes.
Yeah, great job, Denise. Definitely following through with that one.
Exactly.
That'll start making a statement to a lot of people. And that one will probably catch on, at least with the Gen Xers, if nothing else.
Exactly.
And then the kids will start copying, but at least they'll finally start copying something worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Make mental hospitals great again.
You ready?
Eddie was a legit dude, says Bill. I really hope so. I'm making a t-shirt. There you go. Not a bad idea.
Okay.
All right.
I'm telling y'all, there's not a load of demons in hell or Satan himself that you should ever be afraid of. And you stand in the authority of Christ. Don't let him buffalo you. Don't let him lie to you that God doesn't love you or that you should be afraid of anything.
We talk about this all the time. It says in the Bible, do not fear 365 times.
Don't fear and know that God loves you. That's what they want people to think is that people don't, or they want people to think that God doesn't love you because you have done X, Y, Z, maybe ABC through X, Y, Z. whatever the case is, God still loves you. And there's hope. You just need to, kind of follow the instruction manual.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely. Now, I know that a lot of people don't know who Victor Marks is. So, this is just a really quick video.
all right.
So, this is like when everyone's saying he's a badass, this is why.
We tried this. All right, y'all put that up there. Let's... We tried this.
That's interesting. Needs a lot more context.
He wasn't always a preacher.
Okay. Well, I understand that. I kind of gathered that.
Yeah.
But think about it. How do people end up getting to be preachers? I remember, and this is when I was going to school. We had a priest. He was a Green Beret in Vietnam, but he became a priest. Let that one sink in for a little bit. By the way, he had a metal plate in his head because a grenade popped off near him.
Thank you, Denise.
Oh, thank you, Denise. Much appreciated. She said, someone said fear was an entity and it should be banished. Once you #banish fear, you are free or freer.
Exactly.
Boom.
So, this is I need you guys to turn your ears up.
No. Okay.
This is a Red Maven.
A Red Maven. All right. I got the volume up for the videos.
Listen carefully.
All right. What does that comment say?
I don't want to read it until after you hear the...
Fine.
Just listen carefully.
All right. We're listening.
One big day in Detroit.
He say hello, Don, or hello, John.
I did. Okay, so I saw that video a couple days ago. Yeah, it's a little bit. It's an older clip, but it checks out.
But
One big day in Detroit.
Wrong one.
Sounds a lot like John.
Look at his lips as he's moving. There's a j as opposed to a duh.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it looks. So who's John?
I wonder.
I
wonder.
That's very interesting.
Just food for thought. Just a quick little. Wanted everyone to hear that.
That's definitely a curiosity. Definitely a curiosity.
Yes. So we talk about discernment a lot on here. The gift of discernment.
The gift of discernment. It is a gift.
The gift of discernment. Ever felt a nudge from within? Ever have that feeling deep inside that something's just not right? Or when you instantly know you can trust someone? That, my friends, is the gift of discernment. Let's dive into why this gift is a game changer. Discernment is not just about sensing right from wrong. It's a divine guidance system gifted by the Holy Spirit to navigate through life's complexities. First up, discernment is crucial for decision-making. It helps us choose paths that align with God's will, avoiding pitfalls we can't see with our eyes. Second, it's about people. Discernment lets us sense motives and authenticity, helping us build deeper, meaningful relationships. And don't forget, we're in a spiritual battle. Discernment is our shield, protecting us from deception and spiritual attacks. Imagine moving through life with this incredible tool. When you develop discernment, you're not just living, you're thriving under God's guidance. So how do you sharpen this gift? Pray for it, immerse yourself in the Word, and stay connected to a community that encourages spiritual growth. Drop an amen if you believe. My blessings come from the grace of God. And please follow me so I can share it with you. God bless you.
This one for me was, I like to think I have discernment, but sometimes my heart is so big that
You get yourself into a sticky wicket.
yeah,
Yeah, it happens.
because I love big.
Well, you do love big, and it also gets you to hurt big too.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's I guess a layman's way of saying discernment would be a BS detector. A lot of people have a very good one. A lot of people have great discernment, but that's exactly what happens. Is we have a big heart? No, that can't be the case. No. We'll just give it a chance, and then let the chips fall where they may, and then the chips fall where they may, and then there's problems. But that's part of our learning. The lessons, because we don't listen to these gifts that we have. And so it's important that when we have these gifts that we need to listen to those and follow through with them. And I think that that's very important. We certainly need to make sure that whether your gift be discernment or any other gift, that you're using, that you're exercising that, and that you're actually listening to that little voice, your gut feelings. That's what they are. We shouldn't make these out to be something mystical and magical that people don't have, because people have all of these gifts. It's just as we get older, we shut them down, and we do that because we're trying to, just get the bills paid with the job that we have, because we know that we don't like this or that or the other thing that's going on, and we cave and we roll over and we allow stuff to happen, even though deep down inside we know that it's wrong.
Absolutely.
I can tell you, there were times when things were wrong. You speak up and you find yourself being the only one out there, and then you end up losing a job. But that's where we all need to start supporting each other, because people deep down inside know the difference between what should be happening versus what they see happening.
Yes.
And now, as everything is getting more and more ridiculous, people are going to be more likely to listen to that very, that single voice out there, that one voice that's speaking up and saying that is wrong. But that's the beautiful thing about everything that's going on right now, is everybody's getting to see how things are when we let crap just, float on.
Exactly.
Let's see. Thank you, Bethany, for sharing that. Joyful Lily says, I do not have a good BS detector, hence the story of why I almost bought lunch meat from a rando at the gas station. Oh, yeah, that's, whew. Yeah, glad you didn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have other gifts. It may not be discernment.
Right.
And that's
but you
okay.
can pray for it.
But you can pray for it, and you'll get it.
So what Jan says?
Jan says, I can't tell you when I don't listen to my gift. I can tell you, comma, there we go. I can tell you when I don't listen to my gift, I will fall every time. And that's kind of part of the lesson about not listening to the gifts that we have. Don't bury your talents, and hope that everything will be fine after it's all said and done. You need to use your talents and grow them, so that way you can, utilize them more and better.
Exactly. Ready?
Yeah.
I got shipwrecked. She's talking about CNN.
All right. Oh, God.
CNN thinks you're stupid.
You can see two green lights. When they're on, they signal to the candidate his microphone is on. When the green lights are off, they signal to the candidate his microphone is off. Now I want to give you a sense of what it will look like for viewers at home if a candidate whose microphone is off interrupts a candidate whose microphone is on. So I'm standing at one podium, and I'll ask Phil to come in and take the other podium. And so let's say I'm answering a question. My light is green, and I'm speaking. Phil's microphone is off, and his green lights are not illuminated. He's going to interrupt me as I'm speaking, and this is what it will sound like. My volume remains constant, while Phil's interruption can be difficult to understand.
Let's try the opposite. My microphone is now on. Victor's microphone is off, and he's going to interrupt me. My volume remains constant, while Victor's interruption can be difficult to understand. CNN's production team has shared this demonstration with the...
Really did just do a whole 1.5-minute video explaining to you, here in 2024, to you, the generations of technology, how microphones and the muting of microphones are gonna work. They think you're stupid. CNN, the news network that is slowly being replaced by social media influencers all over the place with their own mics and their own gear and their own equipment. We know how the mute button works. We know why you're doing it. Are we in first fucking grade? This is how little the media thinks of all of you, of all of us.
And they think that it's going to make any kind of a difference if the microphone is shut off. How ridiculous. And if President Biden is talking and Trump starts talking, we know that buffoon Biden's not going to be able to think his way through his own thought process because he's going to be hearing Trump in the background. Oh, this is going to be epic. This is going to be so fun. And you know what? My dad was telling me, he called us earlier before the show and he was telling us that they're expecting a medical reason to shut the show down. I have a feeling that whatever they're giving him, Biden, to make him somewhat lucid, probably gives him, it may work as like some kind of a laxative or something. And so, yeah, there's probably going to be some kind of I don't know, problem with Joe.
See?
Yeah.
Don't forget your bingo card.
Don't forget your bingo card. Where's the bingo card? I don't have a bingo card.
Yeah, we have it. It's in
We have a
Telegram.
bingo card? Okay.
And if you're doing a drinking game, be careful. Alcohol poisoning is a thing.
I mean, if you feel you need alcohol, yeah, go ahead. Just be careful.
Exactly.
All right.
So the whole world
It's a
is
laxative.
watching.
It's a possibility.
Are you ready? Yes, exactly. Scavino put it out.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good deal. Thank you, Denise.
Yes, and Jenny did share it.
Thank you, Jenny. I was plumbing today.
Yes. Are you ready?
Yes.
The whole world is watching.
Got a 97 on my test if y'all care.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch this. Let's talk about it.
Our message to Donald Trump of the United States and every American who's watching this. Your election in November is far bigger than your country. Okay? Donald Trump is needed in this world to bring back peace.
Bigger than us. It seems like others are looking forward to this election in November and not just Americans. Those are some pretty bold words coming out saying that Donald Trump is the only person who's going to be able to restore not only America, but also peace in the world. I agree with the fact that Donald Trump did a lot of good in his 4 years as president and also a lot of good in the world because he made America strong. And a strong America makes for a peaceful world. It's probably why there were no wars during his presidency. Conversely, you look at the leadership now and how weak it is and how many wars we're dealing with, how many foreign conflicts. Need I say more? Let me just make one thing perfectly clear, though. Donald Trump is not the savior of mankind here, okay? And a lot of Democrats want to call him our savior, want to hail him as the savior of the conservative people. He's not. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. Donald Trump is a man created by God. He can do God's work should he desire to do so, and I sure hope he does, but he is not our savior. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. Jesus Christ alone is the one who can actually redeem the United States. Now, if he chooses to use Donald Trump to do so, great. If he doesn't, then we'll deal with that as well. God will use who he will in order to execute his plan the way he sees fit for this country and this world. We are nearing the end times. I'm sure you've heard it before and you're going to hear it again. God is going to use who he may in order to let his plans lay out as they will. But again, do not put your faith in a man that was created by God. Put your faith in God, who came down as man.
Man,
Thoughts?
that was awesome. So, yeah, the world recognizes the gravity of the situation.
Yes.
We see that we're on the precipice of World War III. We see that, there seems to be one person standing between us and absolute and complete and utter destruction of anything that humanity has been trying to build since, well, the dawn of mankind, right? So, with that being said, no, we don't put our faith in Trump. And I know that this is something it's a tired old trope that the left has been saying this entire time. Oh, you think Donald Trump is God. You think he's Jesus. You think this and that and the other thing. Why are you telling me what I think? If you'd shut up and listen, then you'd actually know what I think. And what I think goes along the lines of what he was saying. I believe that God is capable of using anybody and everybody to their own device. You just read the book and it'll tell you as much. Right? After all, Biden's pride, he still uses the bad leaders too to create the ends that he desires. And so that's the way this is working out. I can see it crystal clear in my own mind. I'm, just sorry you can't, but maybe that's something that you should start reconsidering life with if you can't see that. Now, do I believe that Donald Trump is fallible? Yes, I do. He's a human being.
Hey, Rambo.
Hey, Rambo. Thanks for stopping in, man. Truly appreciate that.
You had an amazing show today.
I only caught the tail end.
But you know that because you're you and you're amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Rambo. We appreciate you. Anyways, so Trump, he's not our messiah. He is just somebody that is really, truly has the ability and the power and the finances and the everything. He has all the pieces in place in which to be able to fight this fight for us. So that way the fight doesn't look the way that truly and honestly would be the worst way possible. Right. Which would be physical confrontation between citizens. Worst case scenario. Pray it does not happen. And I truly believe that Trump, as more and more people come to the light, they see the truth, they start to come to God. And as they continue to go closer to God, more people come around, they start to see it. And then that's what's going to make it a peaceful transition to what America was always supposed to be. That's what I see happening.
Absolutely.
And you know what? They want something that's nasty and awful because they're nasty and awful people.
Amen. Amen. So this next video blew my mind. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a hidden message in the Bible.
No way.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I think this might be the craziest thing I've ever seen. That's a big call. It's a big call, but this absolutely blew my mind when I found out about it. So the Bible, the early books are written in Hebrew, right? The genealogy in the first few books of the Bible, for those that know, is like Adam first, then his son was Seth, then Enosh, then Kenan. I'll probably pronounce those wrong, but in the original Hebrew, when you take the meanings of their names, get this. Oh, I've heard something about this. So Adam means man. That's like the original translation. Seth is appointed. And then the first 10, I'll read out each of their names, their meaning. It actually spells this. Man is appointed mortal sorrow, but the blessed God shall come down teaching. His death shall bring the despairing comfort and rest.
What?
Wow. I don't know how long ago, but it was long before Jesus came.
Wow.
When I found out about that, imagine that. God's prophesying Jesus from the first people who ever walked the earth in their names.
I don't know why I never even tried to put that together, because I love the meanings of names. Every name has a meaning. And I find it absolutely fascinating that people's names, the meaning behind their name generally describes the person to a T. And I find that fascinating. It's not just first names, it's last names too. After all, Fauci, last name means sickle. Pelosi, hairy homeless dude. But with that being said, I don't know why I didn't bother putting that together. I just that just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a great video. Now I'm gonna put all the
amazing?
name meanings together and see what it means. I'm sure it tells us a whole nother book altogether.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, that blows my mind too.
Yeah. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Oh, look at Rambo showing off in the background.
Nice.
Brat.
Look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Don't mind her hater.
We're working
She's
on
hating. A new intro and everything.
everything. So
Yeah, still working on
soon.
the intro.
You ready?
I am not a videographer.
You do amazing work.
Yeah, thanks.
You ready?
Yep.
Got Tucker.
All right.
I've interviewed a lot of drunk people, people who have anxiety attacks on camera live. I've interviewed an awful lot of politicians where you just feel like there's something so dark coming off them. You know, you get that feeling like I'm not really sure what you're into and I don't really want to know, but I'm pretty sure drinking human blood is part of it. You just, you get that feeling. See, if I'm being honest, I think Trump is one of the hardest to interview. I love Trump personally, actually, and I agree with him on so many things, but he's difficult to interview because he's, what's the word, discursive? Sort of goes off in other directions, which very often are hilarious. So you go in there with a set of questions, and you get to about midway through the first question, he's off. Wow, and another thing. And you just sort of realize, no, my job is not to get my questions answered. They won't be anyway. Just enjoy it.
Thoughts?
That's a good point. His job's not to get the questions answered. He's just there to show you who the people really are.
Hmm?
And that's,
What do you think about the part where you said drinking human blood?
well, yeah. I mean, but that's like okay. So the fact that Tucker's talking about this, and I don't think this is the first time that Tucker's actually mentioned that, but I think that as people are awakening and they're actually following Tucker Carlson, he's been slow walking people to the truth. And now it's being said in a manner where it's like, you know, you should be caught up to this point right now. Yeah, I mean, I kind of missed that because I was reading the comments here. There's a lot going on here. But with that being said, Tucker's an amazing man, and he's a very brilliant person, and he knows how to get a point across, and he knows how to speak on many different levels. And I think that that's one of the things that's truly important as well, is that he knows how to speak on different levels, because he knows that everybody's on different levels of understanding. Everybody's on different steps in their awakening process, and each one of them looks very different. And we all go through all of those as we continue on our awakening process. I don't know if there's a point where you're completely awake and you have all knowledge at some point in time. I think that that's called something very different. But with that being said, it is a unique skill that Tucker's really good at. And I know that this is how, with people like Tucker, with people like President Trump, with people like that behind the wheel and driving this awakening that we're going through, it is getting people to recognize what's really going on in the background. Tucker is truly a gift to the American people at this point in time. Although I wonder what his fascination is with the black and yellow tie.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
Whatever.
don't know. You ready?
Yeah.
Got Preston.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Exactly. And the comment says, do you ever worry about them coming after you as his supporter? You ready?
Yeah.
Look, working for President Trump, I can most certainly say this here has been a concern of probably all of ours at some point. For me personally, it's been a concern since 2016 when I first joined the Trump campaign. And I saw truly just how evil the Democratic Party was, as well as how well they were manipulating the general public into believing that we were their enemy. Then, of course, the summer of 2020, when everything was insane and they continued to only hone down even harder on their threats. And they were some pretty credible threats that they gave that put all of our lives in danger at some point along that trail. But I'm very happy to say I have an incredible team of individuals who surround me every single day. And those individuals are some of the highest trained and skilled individuals at neutralizing any type of a threat who thinks about coming for me. And I'm most certainly not going to speak on their behalf, but what I can say is they probably get tired of training and wouldn't miss a beat protecting me or any of us if the time came in which they needed to do so. But what I fear more than anything is I fear that they will come for me not because I support President Trump, not because I work with President Trump, but I fear they will come for me simply because I'm an American, because that is the world that we now live in. As we've seen through the Trump legal battles, as we've seen through the weaponization of the agencies against President Trump and against the American people, my greater concern is that they're going to find a reason to come for all of us. And that's something, quite frankly, I know my security team nor my legal team can protect me against. So here's what I will say. We are up against an election that, quite frankly, in my opinion, if we lose this election, it will be the last election we ever have in this country. We are up against an election that is going to determine the rights of every single American moving forward. And if President Trump does not win this election, this country will no longer exist as we know it today. And let me go as far as saying that if we do not win this election in November, the weaponization of those very same agencies that have been weaponized against President Trump and the American people thus far will only continue to get even worse. And we will find ourselves living in a world that is absolutely unrecognizable if we are even alive. And that, my friend, is why this is by far the most important election of our lifetime. Much love and God bless.
Thoughts, Santino?
All right. So I don't see how Trump can't win the election. I mean, I look, I get it. You know, they're going to try to steal. Well, I talked about it last night. The biggest threat that they probably have at this point in time is after Trump's been elected, they start World War III, and then they suspend anything and say that we need to keep Joe Biden in office, because that's where they're going to have the most amount of power to try to inflict all of the thing, or not inflict, what's the word I'm looking for here? That's how they're going to try. That's going to be where they're going to have the greatest ability to cause the most damage, to do the most things wrong, and do it under the guise of being in a war with a superpower across the ocean, or multiple superpowers across the ocean. So yeah, after Trump gets elected, but before he gets in office, that's our biggest threat. But with that being said, this is where the faith comes in. This is where the sheer volume of people that are awakening and that have awakened. You know, how many people feel comfortable today talking in the open about the fact that the election was rigged? I can tell you that I can say it in class and nobody bats an eye, nobody grumbles, nobody says anything. I can say it out in public and nobody, you know, gets all bent out of shape. I mean, obviously, I'm not telling it to the people that are wearing masks and have blue hair and stuff like that. But at the same time, your average person, your average American, you can say that the 2020 election was stolen and they are going to agree with you. That is a very big difference from where we were back in 2020 when people were still wearing masks from a fake ass, you know, pandemic. So I will say that we should have the faith, just because we're supposed to have that faith and we're not supposed to fear. But at the same time, we should make sure that we're doing our part by continuing to talk to people, because I talked to somebody today and talked to him about Big Mike. They didn't believe it. Showed him the video on YouTube, pulled it up on YouTube, just typed in, you know, Michelle Obama, and then it said Ellen DeGeneres show. It already typed out the rest of it for me on YouTube of all places, right? And so I pulled it up, I played it, and, you know, made the same excuse I made back when I was first told, like, God, how long ago was that when Michael had told me that? What year was that?
That was even before the election. That was
That was before Trump was even talking about
2014.
2014. It was like right after the show was put out is when somebody was telling me about that, and I was like, no, that's just like the cloth bunching up or whatever, because your brain can't comprehend it. And so I was like, come on, man, you know what it looks like. Don't be playing, don't be lying to yourself. And people are more willing to reconsider that kind of communication now, because the world is changing so fast in people's minds. So it is imperative for us to continue to talk to people and try to give people just that one red pill that might be like, what am I looking at here? So going back to Preston, you know, he is surrounded by people, very, very dangerous people. And I'm sure that they will protect him and the entirety of the Trump team from bad things happening to them in that kind of way. There are a lot of Big Mike videos out there, Aaron. So really the point that he brings up is what are they going to do to try to suspend our constitutional rights? But our biggest defense against that is just the sheer volume of people that are waking up.
Exactly.
So have faith.
Have faith.
Yeah. Do not fear.
Exactly. Evelyn says more of a red sausage than red pill.
Touche.
Touche.
Touche. Very
So we have Christian.
good. Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit
Christian.
about lights, camera, action.
With all of these people going in and out with golf carts, I mean, it's like they're making a movie. What do you think they're doing in there with Joe Biden? I mean, he's a president. Doesn't he already know his job?
Well, one can only speculate, but I do believe that the whole thing is somewhat of a concrete poem, Judge. It's actually a way in which this whole thing is a production, an artifice. You got Steven Spielberg designing it. It's designed with the effects of a movie studio, they say. Well, that's like this whole Potemkin village of the entire presidency. It is a projection of artifice.
Santino.
Talking about a movie on Fox News. Again, these are all little indicators that say that we should have the confidence to be able to communicate to people about that. A calm, exactly. That could it is a communication of some sort, and that communication most certainly is you're watching a movie. So
A shitty movie.
a terrible movie, an absolutely terrible movie. But at the same time, the fact that they're pointing this out is showing us that the things that we have been looking at, all of those cue drops, that there is some truth to that, or at least they're relaying those messages to say that it is something other than what we're looking at. And then we put that together with the fact that we don't even know who's actually playing Biden at this point in time. It tells us that something very different is going on and that they are communicating with us. We'll see how it plays out.
We have to.
Well, we don't have much of a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, there's that. I still want my money back, too.
I know.
Yeah, I want my money back.
I know.
Yeah, the ending better be worth it.
Better be amazing.
Mhm.
So, I will say this time earmuffs, but
Okay.
the question is to liberal or not to liberal?
Good morning. Let the shenanigans begin. Cause Would
you rather date an illegal immigrant or a liberal?
Oh my gosh.
Girl, said it all. Hells bells. How you tell them apart? That's a trick question. Ain't they one and the same? Yeah. Sips decaf. Psst, seriously, come here. How do you tell the difference? Find the one that ain't struggling. The ones that come here illegally live the good life. They making 6 figures a year off your taxes. See how dumb you claim to not be? That's how being inclusive works, yeah. It's like picking between the axe to the face and eyes, or set on a barbed wire dildo at sunrise. A lollipop-licking liberal is a liberal. Enough said. Only legal immigrants become conservatives. By that logic, they're going to both be liberal. I can't swipe fast enough. I'm sure there's some nice liberals under a rock somewhere. Maybe in an alternate reality, you know. On another planet. Offended because they're on the other planet. Still waiting for that comment. I could date them if I married them for money. Sugar mama, sugar dad, sugar they, them, Zila, Zuzu. Just give me all the sugar. Have big go bank account. Money makes you forget, and by forget, stay stoned or something. Shit, I'm taking the one with benefits. Hey, baby, you got that free health care? Let me be your +1. Food voucher, don't mind if I do. Big level up date night with dinner. Free phone, free house, free car, probably be electric, with no place to charge it. Hashtag liberal logic, or saving the planet. God damn, where's that comment? In this economy, if you're ugly as fuck, it's really the smartest choice. See, the liberals gonna be broke, because they're gonna give all the money to the illegal immigrants, then send their spare change to the cranes. Because, you know, fuck Haiti and the rest of the world. It's on fire, we can use that for alternative heat sources. You won't never have nothing that way. For damn sure, 7 toes down. Cut my other 3 off trying to get a handicap sticker, it didn't work out. Balance is a bitch ever since. So are liberals. Before I would date a liberal, I'd stick my dick in a turtle's mouth while it's still attached. Snapping turtle. With dentures. Get him some of the free health care. It ain't all bad, at least it's got a sexy neck. I'd let a herd of ghosts run a train on my face. Just change out the bypass. Paint my whole house on a 100-degree day with a Q-tip. I'd stick a lobster in my butt. Streak naked on a cruise ship at midnight and jump off the back. I'll sing it. The lobster ain't necessary, just want to try new things before I die. That's a lie. It ain't new things. Oh, Sebastian, you don't like a good clawing. Hell, I'd rather hang meat off my meat. Run through a pack of hungry rabid dogs. Hell, through an encampment of homeless people. That's really playing roulette with your life. Hell, I can't believe I'm going to say this. There's one thing me and the liberals will finally agree with. Fuck, I would pick the bear. Liberals, you win this one. God damn.
Did he say I'd pick the bear? Because that's what I was thinking too. So, well, if those were my choices, I'll go with the bear.
That's what he said.
Yeah, go with the bear. Since that's apparently a thing now.
It's amazing.
Stupid. What an awful question. Why would you do that to somebody?
They wanted an answer.
What? That's a terrible question that nobody needs an answer to.
I know.
Uh-huh.
I know.
But it also goes to show you what people's mentality is towards, you know, illegals and liberals.
Hmm.
You know, that would even be a question tells you what the psyche of your average American is at this point in time. Let that one sink in for a minute.
That's what I'm saying.
It tells you that they are a minority that don't have the power to do the things that they think that they want to do, which, by the way, are terrible ideas. Why are all their ideas so terrible?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's like the ministry of terrible ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
Okay. Another red maven.
Of course, they have an ass as their symbol.
I know.
Hmm.
So, have
Another
you
red
seen,
maven?
Yeah. Have you seen this photo yet?
I've seen it. was too fast. I couldn't see that. Okay. Julian Assange flew to freedom on same $40 million private jet Taylor Swift chartered to the Super Bowl.
Watch, though.
Okay. Oh. Q.
There you go.
There we go. There's a Q there. What a surprise. How about that? See, it's all these little breadcrumbs that they keep dropping that tell you that there's something else going on in the background that we don't see. These are the things that make me feel a little bit more confident. Is it a false confidence? Could very well be. But at the same time, there's so many other things going on that they don't have control over, i.e. the general populace's opinion about everything that's going on, especially from people that used to be liberals that are no longer liberal, or at least Democrats, still liberal in their minds. And that's okay, because classical liberal is a thing. Right? Everybody's free to do whatever they want, so long as it doesn't interfere with anybody else's individual freedom. That's kind of the whole individual freedom thing that makes the United States. Freedom to do all sorts of things. So it's okay that people still have that classical liberal mentality, but at the same time, they recognize that we don't have a classical liberal anything going on right now, especially with the way, just take a look at what they're planning on doing for the thing here in just a couple of minutes, the debate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a free society.
I know.
So those are the things that are waking people up. That's why you can pretty much talk to anybody and they will agree with you about the things that are going on in this nation and about how things need to change and about how Biden's a dipshit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So I had this nutty liberal ask me why in the hell would I even vote for Donald Trump? That I would have to be delusional to vote for Donald Trump. He was humbled at my answer. I calmly told him, our enemies see Joe Biden's lack of leadership. They see how fragile and frail he is. They see his rapid cognitive decline. They see his weakness. They see his no policy border policy. Our economy is in shambles. Hell, Americans can't even afford to go to the grocery store and pay bills all on the same payday. And our enemies are preparing themselves and are almost primed to make their move. I'm voting for Donald Trump because we need a man, a strong man in that office that is going to close off that border, and that's going to do everything by all means necessary to keep it closed and to keep it safe. That is going to fix America's problems first. That is going to put America first. That is going to put Americans first. It's going to put our problems first. And a strong president that won't give two shits to go toe-to-toe with our enemies and give them the stern warning that if they don't back the fuck up, that our planes will be over their skies, that our tanks will roll over their soil, and that our men will march in their cities. That is why I am voting for Donald Trump. Because I want to see America flourish. I want to see America prosper, and I want to see America endure as it has endured. I do not wish to see America burn.
Thoughts?
The problem is that there's a whole group of people that do want to see America burn.
I know.
But those are also the same people that are voting for Joe Biden. Isn't that a surprise? Or not? No, it's not, because they've always hated America. They even said it on their TV shows all the time. America's the worst country. Oh, America is, last in this, last in that. Well, yeah, how did we get last in all of these things? Because you clowns are the ones that have been making it that way. That's why we want to get rid of the Department of Education, because, well, our education was good until there was a Department of Education. And then you get butthurt because we say that we don't want this worthless organization around anymore because it's only made everything worse. So, yeah, that's why I want President Trump. to be president again. I want President Trump to be president again because that's what the people voted for twice already, and it was stolen.
Very much so.
That's why we're going to vote for him a third time. Yes. And that's why things are going to get changed, because we're sick and tired of seeing, crackhead Hunter get away with anything and everything.
And Joe.
Not competent enough to stand trial, but competent enough to be president. What does that say? What does that say about you of somebody that's willing to accept that concept? What's that?
It's scary.
It is scary.
That people think that's okay.
That is a hashtag 5150 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you think that somebody that isn't competent to stand trial is competent to be president of the United States. Hashtag 5150. That's like something that's important.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So if anybody has a problem, just point out how crazy they are.
Exactly.
And then see how crazy they really get.
So we have about 5 minutes. I'm gonna
they're probably gonna talk.
We got Brother Vic, and he's gonna
Victor Vale.
Talk about dear federal government.
This is a hard one. To the federal government, I don't know what y'all are doing. I really don't get it. I really don't get how so many billions of dollars go to another country and we're still suffering here. So what the American people want to say is really simple. Just give us our money back. Just give us our fucking money back. Because everything we do is being double taxized. And that is being conservative in that presumption. It is being double taxized. Give the American people their fucking money back. If you can't care for us, how many of those countries give money to us? How many of those countries make it real for us while we are giving them everything that they need? Just give us our fucking money back. And at this point, you should understand where this is going. And I mean, right the fuck quick. Yeah, Thursday, the 27th. That's going to be really the fuck busy. And I get that. I really do. But you know what? Cost of inflation. You're fucking with me. Give me my fucking money back. Oh, and those who actually believe that there was this thing up here, there never was. Congratulations. You've been successfully played. Give us our fucking money back.
They must have removed the comment or whatever that he had up there. Yeah, the context on that would have been great. But I think we've said it all here. Some of y'all have said it. I know I've said it. I want my money back.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of this. But I think we're getting there because we've been following the yellow brick road and we're finding out who's behind the curtain. And we're starting to pay attention to who's behind the curtain. And it's not going to be very good for them. In the end, they can try all their games, but the American people are too many. The people who see what's going on, and it's not just in the United States, it's a global awakening. That's the best part. Globally, we're awakening.
Yeah.
And that's what's changing everything. We just need to continue to wake more people up. And at that point in time, when we do get all these people to wake up, then we can have our money back. And we won't even have to demand it because we can just seize all of the stolen property. Yeah, he does want his money back too. We all want our money back.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, when we all wake up, when everybody wakes up, that's when we can have our money back because These people that have their multi-billion-dollar mansions and multi-billion-dollar boats, got to have a bigger boat because some other billionaire got a bigger boat. So I got to make a bigger boat so that way I can show that I'm better than they are. Nobody cares about your boat peen measuring contest. As a matter of fact, your boat peen is kind of sad because it's all about you. And we don't care about you. We care about you just as much as you care about us. We care about you just as much as you care about us. And I can tell you don't care about us. But there's a lot more of us than there are of the few of you who've been running the show and pulling strings this whole time. You're not the Godfather. You're just an ass. You're just an ass who thinks you're better than everybody else simply because you're more treacherous. That's it. That's the only thing that separates you and the rest of us, is that you're more treacherous and you're willing to eat babies, apparently, so that way you can be in some kind of club that gets you stuff, as if stuff matters. Try to bring it through that eye of the needle. We'll see how it all works out.
I know. You ready?
Yeah. Boat is just a hole in the water to throw money into. BOAT is an acronym. Bust out another 1,000.
Exactly. Let's go.
Yep.
Bible verses that will humble you. The last one hits the hardest. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say? But you have forsaken me and served other gods, so I will no longer save you. Go and cry out to the gods you have chosen. Let them save you when you are in trouble. Better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. But because of your stubbornness and your unrepentant heart, you are storing up wrath against yourself for the day of God's wrath, when his righteous judgment will be revealed. When you spread out your hands in prayer, I hide my eyes from you. Even when you offer many prayers, I am not listening. Your hands are full of blood. Wash and make yourselves clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong.
Thoughts?
So we've talked about it here a lot of the time, and this is one of the things that has made so many people turn away from God, is because they see these pastors on television, and they know. I mean, so many people are able to see that they're just charlatans, that they have private jets, as if pastors are supposed to have private jets. So it turns people away.
It does.
They get the people that are susceptible and don't have that kind of discernment, and it looks like a nice big show, and people want to be a part of big shows and stuff like that because, well, they think that that's authentic, and it just doesn't work. So what happens is it turns the other people away who have that kind of discernment, but they don't understand what the discernment's actually telling them. And so they make bad choices. They say, oh, it's all fake. I can tell you I was kind of victim to that myself. I've made that mistake until I decided to read the book for myself and figure out what God was actually saying. Okay, it's his word. Let me see what he has to say. And I read through it, and it's like, no wonder. No wonder I was doing it all wrong before. Now I recognize, and now I'm trying to follow as best as I can, and as best as I'm led. I may be doing it wrong. That could very well be. I'm sure that I will be educated at some point in time, and I'm willing for that kind of education, so long as it's bringing me closer to him. And there's obviously going to be misunderstandings. There's been misunderstandings about whether or not people should be circumcised or not, whether or not people should eat kosher or not. We have that disagreement here within this house. But the point is we're trying to find God the best way we know how, and we read the Bible together every single day.
Yes,
obviously not the whole thing, but we get through the Bible in a year. This is the second time through it. Really excited about that because I'm learning more this time than I did the first time around. I learned a lot the first time around.
Absolutely.
And so what is it that we're supposed to do? We're just supposed to live the way he tells us to live, and everything else will fall into place. Have that faith, have that confidence, but make sure you're reading the book. Don't just take somebody else's word for it because you happen to listen to them once every Sunday. Are they bad? No, there's tons of great pastors and teachers out there. They're all over the place, but it doesn't mean that they have all the answers, because they're being led to say the things that is for their flock. But you are still an individual separate from that flock that's going to have your own discernment and own understanding that will help you grow on your own way. And what else do you do with your time? Are you watching TV? Well, maybe you could spend 30 minutes reading the Bible before you start watching your TV.
Exactly.
Plenty of things you can do for your own salvation.
Amen.
Yeah.
Now, I have 2 videos. The first one is just...
Are they still jibber jabbering? They got a lot to say on stupid fake news.
They haven't even started.
They haven't even started yet.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So the first
Just
one...
keeping y'all updated.
Yeah. The first one is just a proud wife moment. And then I'm going to play another video after that. But here we go.
All right.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for everything you did for our family.
Is this like Veterans Day or something?
No, I just wanted to
You
tell
just
you
wanted
how
some
much
moto porn.
how much I appreciate you.
I love you. Thank you.
So
it can be motivating.
So we're gonna go to this one now.
All right.
A little nugget here for the married couples. Married couples, there is a real war on the marriage and on the home right now. And a lesson that I have learned over the last little bit is how important it is for married couples, husbands and wives, to turn inward versus outward. What I mean by that is your friends should not take priority over your lover. Social media should not have more power and influence over your connection than your connection. If you guys are at odds with each other, turn into each other. Don't turn away. Don't look for somebody else to fill the love bucket. Turn into each other. One of the most profound things that we will do in companionship is learn to make our companion our best friend, the place that we go, the place that we confide, the place that we learn and nurture and love. Turn in, don't turn out.
Thank you for being my best friend.
Thank you for being my best friend. It's been rough. We've had some patches. We've had some trials and tribulations. But at the same time, God, I wouldn't want anybody else. God, I had to train another one. Oh, it sounds like such a pain in the ass.
I love you.
I love you. The thing is the cleaving to each other is it can be beautiful. It can be a pain too. But at the same time, there's wisdom there. There's experience. There's connections that are truly helpful. She knows who I am. She knows how weird I am, how ridiculous I can be. The strange thoughts that come out, and it's like, what do you think about this? And she looks at me like I'm crazy, but it's a crazy out of love. Hashtag 5150. It's truly a blessing, and I know that it's not an easy thing to do. And I know that we have a hard time trying to find the right one. I know I didn't find the right one the first time, but with that being said, the love is important, and the love that we share with each other, we hope that it's helpful for y'all as well. I don't know how it would help any of y'all to see how weird we are, but at the same time, it's kind of how the whole thing works, and we do have each other to rely upon, and that's amazing that they're always there. Sometimes it's a little unhealthy attachment kind of thing, but whatever. It's a crazy world. I'd rather be attached to her than some of the other crap that I see going on out in the world out there, especially when, you could stumble on like a Biden family member or something. Then you got some real problems.
Right? Ugh.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
you ready?
Yeah.
A whole new level of embarrassment for Hair Bear.
Oh God, this kid. I think this kid, I think that he's just a shill so that way people can use him to, whatever. Go on. All right, we'll see. We'll see.
Harry Sisson has now said the most ridiculous thing he's ever uttered. And I know he said some insane shit before, but the clip I'm about to show you is a new level of what the fuck. So when Biden decided to take off a whole week just to do debate prep, I figured that Harry just wouldn't mention it. Because it's pretty embarrassing that if you're president of the United States, you have to take off a whole fucking week just to prep for a debate. But this dude has been in politics for 70 fucking years. You shouldn't need that much debate prep. But rather than not talk about it, Harry is not only cheering Biden for taking a week off and doing debate prep, but he's talking shit about Trump not doing it. Check this out.
Giving speeches and taking questions in a cheesesteak shop from your supporters is not debate prep. That is not how you prepare for a presidential debate. Like, for example, on the other side of things, President Biden has been hunkered down at Camp David for the past 7 days doing debate prep, and he's been having like 3 90-minute mock debates per day.
And he says that like it's a good thing. Like it is a good thing that a man who is now president, a man who spent 8 years as vice president, and a man who spent more than half a century in Congress needs an entire fucking week just to prep for a debate. That he needs to go through 90-minute sessions. And he talks shit about the fact that Trump is still keeping up his campaign schedule. He's just going around and doing speeches and talking to people. Harry actually tries to criticize Trump for doing that. Harry, Trump isn't prepping for the debate because he doesn't have to, because he doesn't need an army of people at Camp David to teach him how to debate. He doesn't need to do multiple 90-minute sessions to make sure he can make it through. Your president does. Your president took off an entire week being the president just to fucking prep for a debate. One candidate is touring and doing his campaign and living life as usual. The other candidate is holed up at Camp David with an army of people teaching him how he could possibly, maybe, very unlikely, beat Trump in a debate. And you're cheering the fact that Biden needs to do that. That is fucking embarrassing.
Thought Santino.
Well, Harry knows because of all of his experience doing presidential debate preparation.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Because
know that.
yeah, well, he was president back in the day, so he should certainly be giving advice and criticisms. By the way, if you wanted that level of genius, pulled up the young lad's LinkedIn page, and here he is. Yeah, look at that. What a cutie. He's let's see, NYU and George Washington University. One of the things that always upset me when I was in the military, and I thank you for bringing that whole thing up, is when I was in the military, the press was always quick to point out, oh, this person, oh, hold on, y'all don't need to see that. I don't even know what's going on anymore. All right, anyways, so one of the things that they always did is to point out that so-and-so was in this branch of the military. Oh, somebody robbed a convenience store. Oh, they were in the Marine Corps or whatever. They always like to point out the people that kind of lost it because they got tired of getting treated like crap by the very government that they were there to fight for. And so they were just trying to get some bread or something, and then they get painted as some kind of evil person. I think we need to start pointing out which university all of these brilliant people went to, so that way the world knows when you see those places on a resume that maybe you should understand what you're getting yourself into. Because after all, this is how they made everybody not want to hire veterans, because they're crazy and they all have PTSD, and at any moment now they can snap. So keep in mind that all of these institutions like NYU and wherever the hell else that kid went, that apparently this is what they teach in those places. And before you hire one of them, you might want to reconsider. Yeah, treat them the way they treated veterans. Maybe that'll start changing things, because they certainly don't need to be giving any advice on anything. The fact that anybody who's been in politics that long, which shouldn't be in politics anymore, it's time to retire, Joe, but you're too dumb to know better and too prideful to actually just give it up and go retire, because you just had a power hungry kind of thing going on. Keep in mind that he doesn't know much of anything, and he's just trying to get the fools to listen to him. But again, I truly believe that at this point in time, he's even said himself that he doesn't even like Joe Biden, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So
Well, he said all Democrats suck,
okay. So
but he'll still vote for him.
Because he's paid to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, no moral compass whatsoever. But at the same time, that seems like one of those things to kind of wake people up.
Hmm.
I still somehow think that maybe he really is really being put out there to show people how ridiculous that perspective is. If not, he's doing a great job showing how ridiculous their perspective is, because they don't even believe it unless they're getting paid to believe it.
I know. Ugh.
Like a dirty hooker.
So,
yes,
I know you really like Aaron Lewis, lead singer from Stain, who has really changed over the years, and
a lot of people have.
Yeah, can't stand old Joey. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so had my buddy Bobby Pinson come out over the weekend, and we wrote the song, and I'm going to try not to fuck it up. It's called If It Were Up to Me. If it were up to me, no it ain't, but if it was, land of the free wouldn't cost so much, and the bank wouldn't own it all. I'd run things differently. I know I can't, but if I could, I'd stand where Lady Liberty stood before I'd let her fall. I'd build a better life and a bigger wall. If it were up to me, the churches would stay open. If it were up to me, our borders would stay closed. And the helping hand would go to those still working, fingers to the bone. Can't help but wonder how much better it would be if it were up to me. The games they play with all of us, as our history turns to dust, would all be over. Hang the Constitution back up and fight for those who fought for us. I'd make in God we trust more than words on the dollar. If it were up to me, the churches would stay open. If it were up to me, our borders would stay closed, and the helping hand would go to those still working, their fingers to the bone. Can't help but wonder how much better it'd be if it were up to me. If it were up to me, there'd be a bolder line between good and evil, and wrong and right, and we the people would always get to speak whatever we damn well please. If it were up to me, the churches would stay open. If it were up to me, our borders would stay closed, and the helping hand would go to those still working, their fingers to the bone. Can't help but wonder how much better it'd be. I can't help but wonder how much better it would be if it were up to me.
All right. Well, that was a beautiful song, and I like the fact that that these people that have been part of the music industry and big names in the music industry are coming around, and they're like listening to their heart now. They're not being forced to do the music that they've been told to do, that sells all of the things. And I think that these are the people that we're going to see moving forward in the future, because that was an amazing song. And I wish I could have heard all of it, but a lot of y'all who are left around, and it looks like people are showing up on some of the other ones. So Rumble looks like it has gone down. Let me share this with you right now. Just started getting reported that Rumble has gone down. It looks like 57% are reporting the website, 40% the app, and 3% at the login. And then there's comments, and everybody's saying, everybody's covering the debate. What a coincidence! Rumble is down. So it's not a surprise at all that this is something that would happen. But it looks like we're still up. It's still showing that we have a check mark on
I know.
Rumble.
I know. No, it's still gonna be broadcasting over there.
Okay.
It'll just be right now. We're struggling with Rumble.
Well,
but
everybody
I'm
is
gonna-
struggling with Rumble right
I'm
now.
gonna pull up the live stream. Can you take that down? Okay.
There you go.
I'm gonna pull up the live stream for CNN, and we're gonna take a quick break because we have about 7 minutes before it starts. So as you see, 9 p.m.
Oh, they're gonna tell us what's important. Oh, thank God PBS is there.
So I'm gonna go take a break. Santino can stay here if he'd like, but it's playing. We're gonna be fine.
Is it going on right now?
No, not yet.
All right. So let's see. It's not a surprise. What's probably going on, I don't think that it's an attack. I think that what's actually going on is so many people are going to Rumble because that's where people are starting to get their information. They're no longer going to some of the more traditional websites like Facebook, YouTube, places like that. Obviously, X is still working at this point in time. So people are going to be trying to get the information, and they're going to try to shut the information down. But then again, they don't really have to, because some of these things might not have the computing power, the infrastructure, I guess, for lack of a better word, to be able to handle all of the traffic that's going to be going on. But there are some places that are going to be showing this traffic. I am going to take a break. What, you want me to take a break now?
Yeah.
Well, don't they need sound, or are we just going to? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing us this moment to do our thing after 2 hours of doing this. But I do know that this will be interesting to watch. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
President Biden has committed to spending some $1.6 trillion to try to green the economy. He's also tried to make it easier for people to get jobs in the renewable energy space. That's a huge part of his first term, and it's something that he is warning could be undone by Donald Trump if Donald Trump were to win in November.
PBS NewsHour correspondent Lisa Desjardins has covered Trump since 2016.
He believes that if you cut taxes on everyone, but in particularly on the wealthy and on corporations, that flows down. The other thing to know about Trump's economic policy is that he is protectionist. What's fascinating is that Trump, just on his own, has really changed the narrative on tariffs themselves.
If China or some other country is behaving badly, we have things called tariffs that are so severe.
He is considering a 10% tariff on every import that would come into the United States. Former President Trump's 2017 tax bill, those tax cuts were tax cuts for most every American who paid taxes, all income levels, and for corporations. They were sweeping. He wants to extend all of them. Not only is he in favor of more fossil fuel drilling,
Drill, baby, drill, right away.
he is going a step farther. He is someone who is trying to block emerging and renewable fuels.
For many voters, immigration is the top issue in the 2024 election.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to close that border tight as a drum, and we're going to let people come in, but only legal.
While we fight for comprehensive immigration reform, he calls immigrants rapists and murderers.
Biden and Trump have different ideas for how the country should handle issues like border security, deportations, and asylum seekers.
President Biden's approach has been a bit of a balancing act on immigration. He actually kept in place a lot of the executive actions that President Trump had in place, namely Title 42. Title 42 was a deportation policy instituted during the pandemic by President Trump. And it essentially allowed Customs and Border Protection to immediately expel migrants encountered at the border, even if they were trying to seek asylum. President Biden kept it in place for a long time, essentially until the courts said that he couldn't anymore. President Biden has instituted an executive action that cracks down on asylum seekers between ports of entry, but he also sped up the deportation process for migrants that are considered a national security threat. If there are more than 2,500 migrants encountered between ports of entry at the southern border, then the border shuts down and migrants can no longer declare asylum between ports of entry. On one hand, President Biden has tried to appear really tough on the border. And on the other hand, he has tried to say that he still wants to make the process more humane.
We must face the simple truth. To protect America as a land that welcomes immigrants, we must first secure the border and secure it now.
President Biden has been essentially arguing he's willing to negotiate with Republicans, but if they don't want to negotiate with him, then he's going to take some executive action. And we've seen that he's been doing that. President Trump attempted to use this exact same authority.
He began his first run for president with vitriol about migrants, but now he's saying things like he doesn't believe migrants are civilians and that he believes that perhaps the U.S. military should be used against migrants entering this country between border points. That is something unprecedented. Former President Trump is again doubling down on this idea that he would want mass sweeping deportations in this country.
On day one, we will begin the largest deportation effort in the history of our country.
And he wants local law enforcement to do it. And he has also said he wants the National Guard to help. Former President Trump, a big piece of his immigration agenda is the so-called Remain in Mexico policy. He would reinstate that. He would say, if you have come from a country other than Mexico to the US border, you will have to wait in Mexico to be processed before you can enter. Trump 3.0 is a lot like Trump 2016 when it comes to the border wall. He is insisting he will still put a border wall in place along the southwestern border, and that he believes that perhaps the U.S. military should be used against migrants entering this country between border points.
Access to abortion and reproductive health care are concerns for many voters in 2024.
We've gotten abortion out of the federal government and back to the states.
This Supreme Court made an extreme decision overturning Roe with their Dobbs decision.
Following the Dobbs decision, states and voters have taken steps to either enshrine the right to an abortion or ban the procedure.
For some people, it is a must-agree issue. And that's why it remains so incredibly important this year. He is the president who overturned Roe v. Wade. This is a very tricky political issue for him. And the truth is, we do not know what a President Trump in a second term would really do on abortion. He is not clear, and he has had several conflicting statements about it. At times, former president has said he supports a national ban of 20 weeks. He has said he is open to a 15-week national ban, but now his most recent statements have backed off of that and said that it's up to the states.
And I believe in exceptions for the life of the mother, rape, and incest.
He also said that each person should essentially follow their heart, follow their religion and faith on this issue. Former President Trump is navigating a very difficult area for Republicans here when it comes to reproductive rights. Their positions are very strongly held by conservatives, especially evangelical conservatives, but they're out of line in large part with the majority of the country. Former President Trump has said that he supports access to IVF. He has tried to make that even part of a Republican philosophy of life and allowing for what he calls the miracle of life.
Biden's campaign really wants to drive as much voter turnout around abortion as possible. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have been hammering not just in official White House events, but also
Hey, look,
on
I
the
have a mute
campaign
button. I can
trail,
mute them
this
too.
concern
Isn't
and
that
the
amazing?
point that some Republican
Wow,
lawmakers
that's awesome.
in states across the country
So,
are
here, let me
trying to
unmute
push
you. My
beyond
bad.
just
We were
restricting
muted because we
abortion
had to go
access.
do
This
like, you know,
is a
freaks and
fight
stuff.
for
But anyways,
freedoms.
yes, F. Clan,
The
this
fundamental
chat
freedom
is working over on
of a woman
Twitch.
to make decisions about
And
her
then we can
own
also
body
pull over comments
and not
from
having her government tell her what to do.
Pilled and
He is
X.
able to
comes in
use
automatically.
X, yeah,
Vice
X
President
comes in,
Kamala Harris
Twitch and X
other
come in
Democratic
automatically. And
surrogates
then
to
thank
talk
God
about
for Bethany.
abortion in a
She's
way
always
that
moving
he may
stuff over
personally not feel as comfortable
Twitch,
talking about
from
given his
Pill.
Catholic
Yeah.
faith.
Yeah.
All right. And, oh,
The
I
Biden
see she's sharing them
administration
over.
has taken steps
let's
to
see, why
expand
wait,
access
carbon-based
to abortion,
Rumble.
specifically medication.
Yeah, Rumble is down.
Making it more
I'm looking
widely
at it.
available at retail
Yeah, it's
pharmacies,
still down.
through
And
mail.
it's showing on
He
Down
has
Detector that
been
it's down. Everybody's
opposed
been
or not
reporting it
personally
over
supportive
on Down
of the
Detector as
constitutional
well.
right to abortion for a
Yeah,
long period of time. But he changed as the
8,658
Democratic
people have
Party
already
changed.
reported
And
that
now
Rumble
President
is
Joe
down.
Biden very much
And
supports the
obviously,
constitutional right to abortion.
I believe Roe v.
all of us
Wade was the correct
is going to
decision.
be talking
If
about
President Biden wins
how
re-election,
it's
he
sure
is
odd
telling
that
the public
Rumble went
that he
down.
would
I mean,
try
they
to
could have had
codify Roe v.
traffic,
Wade. So essentially
but
codifying a
I don't think that
constitutional right
that's
to
what.
an
Oh, it started
abortion
on CNN.
prior to fetal viability.
All right.
And that is something
Well,
that would
this is
be
supposed to
incredible.
be it.
This is supposed to be it.
Jumped more than 30%.
Well, there we go. All right.
What do you say to
I can
voters
unmute
who
them.
feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
Thank you, Jan.
Take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me.
A bunch of horse shit.
We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15.
Oh yeah, insulin.
A insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10%
Isn't it funny how this one's going to work out?
Coming into the U.S.
This debate is a freaking joke.
Prices even higher.
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back. And he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last
see we get
years,
Balcini and Biden today.
The national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new
called
nonpartisan
Balcini and
analysis,
Biden?
President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation
Genius.
where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare,
yeah,
thank you, President
brilliant.
Biden. President Trump.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're
Imagine
asking,
that.
complex,
The press
but not
lied.
really complex.
Press always
51 years
lies.
ago,
What a surprise.
you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the
Fake
states. Everybody,
news.
without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe.
It should always be states' rights.
That was
It's always
this
the way it was
idea that
supposed to
they're
be.
all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who
You're
says the state
ridiculous.
should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many
Not
young
an
women,
equivalent
including a young
argument.
woman who just.
But then again, you don't even know your own name.
He went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about
Where'd
that.
our trolls
Here's
go?
the deal. There's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have, everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means
It's
he
not up to
can
you.
Take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say,
Murder.
rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby.
Murder.
Nobody
Murder.
wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true.
After the
Roe
9th
v.
month?
Wade does not provide for that. That's
Yes,
not
it
the
does.
circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen.
That's
But
just
we are not
section.
for late-term abortion, period. Period.
But
Roe
you
v.
allowed
Wade,
it.
you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want,
Get 'em.
depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the
I don't think it should
Republicans.
even
For
be a thing.
51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
Is it lying if he doesn't know what he's
I really don't
talking
know what
about?
he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you,
caravans.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person coming in his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There is no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, How will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, or we have to get them out fast, because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half, because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. It's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the
Horse shit.
1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened,
because of you.
Whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits.
Agent Orange. Oh, by the way, my uncle got hit with Agent Orange. He's had cancer, and he hasn't gotten help from the VA.
Great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq. Lived in one next to one of those burn pits. Came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Oh, that's because of the fake news made that shit.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up.
Lies. Oh, by
just
the
like
way,
the new thing with the 16 economists are talking, it's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now.
Yeah, don't touch
more for veterans than ever before in our history.
Fake Russia. By the way, the
topic of foreign policy. I want to begin
her ex-husband
with
is one of those 51
Ukraine,
intelligence
which
agents
is
from the
now
state.
in its 3rd year.
Yeah.
Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO.
Killed
Are
is awesome.
Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy.
Nope.
They can't stand him. They think he's the
Oh.
worst commander in chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had.
How
They
long
can't
before he
stand him.
shits
So
himself?
let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A
Puts
lot
with
of
the
people are
frozen
dead right
face.
now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that
know.
he should have fired those generals like I
There you
fired
go.
the one that you
Yeah,
mentioned.
turn their
And
backs
so
on
he's
him.
got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left
Trump's
billions of
right.
dollars of equipment behind.
Did you
we
see
lost
that?
13
Somebody
beautiful
walked in
soldiers,
front of the
and
screen.
38 soldiers were obliterated.
Or
And
in
by
front
the
of the
way, we
camera.
left people behind too. We left
It
American
looked
citizens
like a
behind.
green screen.
When Putin saw that, he said, "You know what?
Look
I
at the
think we're going to
different
go in and
backgrounds.
maybe take
But
my."
they
Listen
show
to
them
his
both in the
dream.
same
I talked to
screen.
him
Why would
about it,
Trump
his dream.
accept
The
talking
difference
to
is
an
he
AI?
never would have invaded Ukraine.
Part of
Never.
the movie.
Just like Israel would have never been
I
invaded
got a hard time believing that
in a
one.
million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything, no money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
Yeah, that's the truth.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage to a number of these troops, and he did nothing
Interesting
about
you bring that
This
one
was
up.
not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number 2, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number 3,
You left people
found ourselves in a
behind.
situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine,
right?
This guy told Trump, do whatever you want and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I
as
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine.
acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened.
It's not
I
our
will
war.
have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, All that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point.
Oh,
And
so
our
your
NATO
friends are
allies
making all the money.
produced as
Good to
much
know.
funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East.
We're
In
strong.
October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The
Lily
first
loves
stage
your
is
sound
trade
effects.
the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel? We're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas.
Is he ever going to get past number 1?
You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas. Greatly weakened, and they should be.
Maybe you should stop paying them.
But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
I mean, they are terrorists after. Are you going to get to the second point?
For 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
Wow.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is the guy who wants to get out of NATO.
I've never heard so much foolishness.
He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all.
It's amazing how their captions are coming up before he says the words.
I know.
Ukraine, and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a.
They got a psychic running the closed captions, huh?
No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
They're going to say that that's the 2-minute delay.
Trump, just to follow up,
bullshit.
Would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve
sign
peace
language
in the region?
lady is just going, I have no idea what this punk is saying.
Is that we spend all the money.
Welcome back,
so
Wendy.
They kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. and they were no cars, no, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture.
You notice how his
I
doesn't
changed
come up
that.
before he talks.
But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason
Isn't
he
that
can
amazing?
play games with
Excellent
NATO
observation.
is because I
That
got them
kills
to
their
put up
2-minute
hundreds of
delay.
billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this. I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia?
No, he hasn't.
At a very
I see what you're
secret
saying,
meeting of
Aaron.
the 28 states at that time.
If he
nations at that
pixelates, I'm
time.
on board
And I
with
said,
you.
no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the
Oh, they
next
did a
day
little
and
bit
the
there.
next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump.
We're not
I
a
want to ask you
democracy.
about January 6,
Traitor.
2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes.
Could be,
As
Lily.
president, you swore an oath
But
to, quote, preserve,
Trump's would
protect, and
be.
defend,
It
unquote,
did
the
for him,
Constitution.
too.
What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January
check
6th,
that.
we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected.
Pick that up your
And then he
Snopes and
comes in,
smoke it.
and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically.
Yes.
And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up to the Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done.
But he was
They've
still
been convicted.
talking
He says
when
he
your
wants to commit their
feds,
sentences.
your
saying
agents,
that,
your swamp
you know,
creatures
he
were
went to
starting
every
the
single court in the
shenanigans
nation. I
before
don't know how
Trump was
many
even
cases,
talking.
scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the unselect committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Yeah,
And the
but
fact
that's
of the
because
matter
you
is,
weren't mentally competent to
what
stand
he's telling you
trial.
is simply not true. The fact is that there was
Otherwise,
no
there would
effort
be
on his
two.
part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill, and all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to
I
be
wish Trump
convicted.
would say that.
The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? We denounce the people we're talking about now? We denounce the people who attacked that Capitol?
The Fed boys?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the
He's not
death laws
competent
at
to
the
stand
border,
trial.
telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. Simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong.
Really?
Simply
You
wrong.
believe
No
that?
president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history.
Pills down?
Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with. And think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of
Who
things?
said that nothing ever
Having
happened
sex with a
between them?
porn star on the
Yeah.
night while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about?
What are you
You're never
talking
more
about?
from an alley cat.
What?
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very
Yes, it is.
terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking
Hold us
Democrats,
down.
appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes, the more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. They spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people?
Oh, you mean like the
This is the guy
Azov
who says
battalion
Hitler done
over
some
there
good
in
things.
Ukraine?
I'd like to know what they are.
Sprayed on the
Good things Hitler's
tanks.
done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
He does. That is sad.
Jake, both of you
And
know
so
that
do
story
the
has been
sheep.
totally wiped out, because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing
Well,
to debate.
Barry.
He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden?
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why.
Actually, it was your people breaking the windows.
Cabinet officers refused.
It was the MAGA people who were telling him to stop. There's videos. Don't worry, Joe.
Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Okay, mute these clowns. Oh, no. There we go. Whew. Oh, man.
What a bunch of lies. Yeah. Oh, so disgusting. Change of diaper, probably.
Yeah, you got to change his diaper. Yeah, oofta.
Exactly, Bethany. Y'all don't know how hard this is for me to sit here. If I didn't love you guys with all my heart, woo.
This is something else.
Yeah.
I don't know how. First of all, I'm going to say I don't even know how Trump is able to respond to half of anything that Biden is saying.
I don't even know how he understands him.
Yeah, it does make it easier to take. Yeah, was all staged by the feds. Exactly. The whole J6 thing was staged by the feds. There is so much video evidence, and these people are being tied to it's all out there. These people are being tied to the actual conspiracy to make it look like Trump supporters were the ones doing this stuff.
Yes.
There's so much of that evidence. Are these okay?
No.
And so I don't know if y'all heard me before, but the blonde gal that's the moderator there just saw a report yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it already disappeared. So I can't bring the receipt with me. But apparently her ex-husband was one of the CIA officers that did the whole Russia collusion, confirmed that it's Russian disinformation campaign. Yep. So I can see why they would want. Your comments are being filtered.
How?
Anyways,
You're a moderator.
I can see why that information would be kind of shut down and why they wouldn't want that information out there. The amount of things that comes out of Biden's mouth. I mean, obviously, there's crap coming out of both ends of that guy. We're just waiting for. Well, he made it to the first break, right? Without shitting himself. So, with that being said, I'm still waiting to see what's going on. Oh, is this Ukraine there? I wonder if they're going to show the swastikas that they have on the sides of their armored vehicles. Yeah, of course not, because the press lies. We know this. I can't wait till we actually get some like real news that like people watch regularly.
Exactly.
These are the CNN commercials or CNN.
Yes, these are CNN commercials.
Okay. It does seem staged to a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, they're showing all the scary things. Wow. And then all the lies about the whole COVID thing. I know I got to watch my mouth because we're on a couple of these stations where they'll shut us down. But, well, we've been banned a couple of times, so who cares? Anyways, the guy can't make a logical argument because he's illogical himself. The fact that he is incapable of putting together a sentence and keeping the fact that he's incapable of starting a word and being able to finish one word is like, how can people not see the fact that this guy is incapable? And I love the fact that he brought up, that he's a convicted felon. Well, I mean, sort of, but at the same time, the reason why Biden's not a convicted felon is because, well, he's incompetent to stand trial. All right, good. I'm done.
Presidential debate live from Georgia. Let's talk about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while Black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, Black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one.
They're too stupid to see that it still sucks.
Trustmebro.com.
Yeah.
Number 2, the wages of Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number 3, we're providing housing for and dealing with the segregation that exists among these
segregation.
Corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that Black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past,
let's not get into how Margaret Sanger had everything to do with that.
Costs. I cut them in half.
It's fantastic.
We got to make sure we provide for childcare costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those childcare protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any Black family first-time home buyer should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those Black families and those Black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for Black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing Black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. he caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so
Exactly,
good. All he had
Jenny.
to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back, 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals.
Because of your
in developed
plandemic.
communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that there are $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They've tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity
What?
and making sure people have a
Since when have
shot.
Republicans ever tried to get
There's
rid
a
of the
lot going
cops?
on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another
Malfeasance.
persistent challenge is the climate crisis.
Oh, God, here we
was
go.
the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and
Turn
rising
Harp
sea
off.
levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them. And they've taken great offense at it. And now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions
white
of people
people,
pouring
and
into
Asian
our country,
people,
and they're going to take the job.
and Native
And it's already
Americans.
started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air. And we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever. And we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been.
I don't know where he's been. The idea.
He said is true. I passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way,
Unmute me.
black colleges.
You are.
I came up with
Jenny,
15
where's that
million
liar,
HBCUs,
pants
historic
on
black
fire
universities,
thing you
because they
do?
don't have
There
the
you
kind
go.
of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and all that. Any black
Exactly,
students
Jenny.
capable of college is more than
5150.
any white student can do.
Hashtag
But it's like,
5150.
now they'll be able to get those jobs in high
Oh,
tech.
God, no.
We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, He hadn't done a damn thing with the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, climate accord. I immediately
I mean,
joined it.
that's
Because if we
because
hit
it was
1.5
destroying
degrees
everything and
Celsius,
putting money
the
into
only-
your friends'
the only
green
threat-
pockets.
The only existential threat to humanity is climate change. And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He must undo all that I've done.
That's because it was destroying everything, and
Paris
China doesn't
Accord
give a
was gonna
shit.
cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States.
Mhm.
And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors.
Thank
I
you.
took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people, but we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything? We're not able to, the United States can't get its under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one.
We don't have to be a part of an agreement. We can actually just do the things. Yeah.
Cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people to learn how to deal with climate, just like
Climate
Peace Corps.
Corps.
And we're going to
You're going to shoot them into space.
that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the
Space.
idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one
Prescription?
agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one voluntarily.
We called for it, but it got higher when you came into office.
Company cannot have to pay.
Trump did
And by the
that.
way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step?
Just like I
that you're
said, I
willing
was
to
never
take
going to see
keep
Social Security.
solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
But maybe y'all should stop dipping into it like the original Ponzi scheme was sold to the American people.
Exactly. I can't even afford my EpiPens now.
When they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. So
That's
no
because
one
they're
after-
your friends.
I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing.
They always
the
talk about the
1%
wealthy
amount
paying their fair
paid
share, yet they never
guarantee
do.
the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no,
That
that
right
wouldn't enough to
there.
keep it solvent.
Exactly,
The biggest
Jenny.
thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And that's what. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before.
Really?
And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. The only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is we're in a situation where I talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the
Hey, can you make the GI Bill work worth of shit?
$8,000.
I was promised.
$70,000 a year.
Biden doesn't care.
$15,000 toward the tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, you don't.
President Biden, President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them
That's
onto
the other
Medicare,
thing.
Medicaid.
Glad he
They're
said
putting
it.
them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street. And these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of. I told you before.
Really?
By the way, when I said sucker,
Tell me about it.
Said he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it. Number one. Number two,
lies.
The idea that we're going to be in a situation where
My husband's a veteran. We know.
Millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world.
Is it because of the illegals?
Economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected,
Obama's a Nobel laureate.
And inflation is going to increase
for peace.
And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States.
Lies.
Paid for by the government,
So much.
your
turn to the cost
government.
of child
So that
care,
doesn't
which
mean
many
anything.
American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families,
If
the
wives
cost
could
of
stay
childcare
home
for
and take
two children is
kids, if
more
you didn't
than
have
their
to have a
rent.
two
In your second
parent
term, what would
working
you do
household,
to make childcare
then
more
maybe
affordable?
childcare wouldn't be a problem.
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show. The most
Incompetence.
embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
Dereliction of duty.
Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president.
Joe Biden's thinking right now, please don't shit yourself.
He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us.
I think you're
Nobody.
weak.
Number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up. Go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians.
Don't hold you to
they've
much
had
of anything.
meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is knowing doing anything to deal with childcare. He did virtually nothing to childcare. We should significantly increase the childcare tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President
childcare
Biden.
facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand.
Go after BlackRock, Vanguard, and the rest of Megacorp so that way people can actually live for a change.
Because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the 2 of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more, because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that were imported. Number 2, he's in a situation
You don't even know what the hell a
he talks
cart of
about
grocery
how he
costs.
has not raised, he somehow helped the middle class. Middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number 1. Number 2, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost.
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs, because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't, because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industry.
Did y'all hear that?
There's more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the
Oh,
tariffs
it's
because he
squishy.
can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them.
Gonna itch when
to
it
do what they're
dries,
doing to us as
Joe.
a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog. That's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot. And we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways, but the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him, because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues and lies. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President
the
Trump,
machines.
The question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays.
What is he doing?
We had 2 cases. We paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around.
You were less competent then?
He left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most
profitable
country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us, all of our allies. And
that's rich.
And those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it.
Draw a clock.
I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was.
See how mean
25, 30
Trump
years
is?
ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one.
Yeah.
And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway. Just take a
What?
look at
He
says
just
he
makes
is.
shit
Just
up.
what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president.
Are we really
down to a
having
6.
a golf throwdown?
And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Hey.
It keeps changing.
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay, let's
you know,
not act
nobody
like
around
children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that.
Handicap's
They talk about
operative
a relatively
word.
small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there.
You don't
And
have to
Kim
go.
Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these.
I do not consent.
They don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all, a required response. The idea.
That's why you're trying to get Ukraine in, like, under the radar, super fast, illegally, like.
Trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now.
And nobody likes you because you're an idiot.
Our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places.
But they're not really part of NATO.
Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless
if
of
it's true?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with, he's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia.
Give us space.
Because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country.
The
Not
corrupt
one
courts, yeah.
single court in America said any of your claims had any merit.
No,
State
actually,
or
they
local,
never
none.
looked at it.
But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again,
You're an
you accept
idiot.
He's
pain,
just a name
you
caller.
can't stand
Wow.
loss. Something's
You're
snapping.
devolving to his level.
We'll be right back with more
Ah,
of
thank
the
God.
CNN presidential debate.
I need a break from
live
this.
From Georgia.
I feel beat down.
Listening to him makes my head hurt.
This is
Seriously. He cannot tell the truth.
no, because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He is I don't get it. And I don't understand how sheeple can
Exactly, F. Clint.
listen to this and go, yeah, he's right. Oh,
Because they're used to the talking points. That's all it boils down to, is they just hear the talking points over and over again. But the thing is that
I
they're
already
weak.
did, Bill.
The thing is like, okay, so they think that all we do are talking points, but what they don't understand, those who sit there and listen to everything Biden says.
Oh, wait a minute. Follow us on TikTok. Aren't they part of the ones that want it banned?
Yeah. Anyway, so what was I saying? I was saying that what?
You were saying the talking points.
Yeah, but okay, so that's what I was saying is that the talking points that we say that they don't seem to comprehend is the fact that we've done the research, we've shown the evidence. Just because they don't want to accept the evidence doesn't mean that the things that we say are invalid. But all they do is they keep repeating these things that he says. It's just and they don't bother considering the other side. It's a frustrating scenario.
It is.
Again, it's getting to the point where it's like the people that are continuing to follow Biden just don't have the mental capability to be voters. Look, they were the ones trying to separate us from having a say. And really, the boomerang, when it comes back, we should take a good hard look at whether or not these people have the mental capability to reason through an objective conversation, a conversation with, different points of view, but they refuse to hear that.
I know.
So we're arguing with a wall.
Yes.
Therefore, do they have the right to be able to vote and tell other people how they should live their lives, especially when they were telling people that they don't have a right to go to see the doctor. They don't have a right to vote. They should be thrown in jail. They don't even have a right to live.
I know.
I
know.
I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I think that that's something that needs to be a serious discussion moving forward. And it would have to be a very serious discussion.
Right.
Because really, in the end, we're talking about taking people's rights away. But then again, they were the ones that started talking about taking people's rights away to begin with.
Yes. So hold on one second.
Because they're
please.
tyrants, kind of like Nazis.
Yeah, I know. Hold on one second.
What are
To
we holding?
celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
All right, and we're
We
back.
have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But
Vegetative.
this guy
Exactly,
has
Bill.
increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle.
Here we go,
left
counting
after
again.
the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare to the ability for us to be able to negotiate
Are the drugs
with
wearing
big
off?
pharma companies. Well, guess
Big
what?
pharma.
We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are
Lead
causing
pipes?
health problems for people across
What is
the
this,
country.
ancient Rome?
We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden.
He didn't get to
President
number
Trump, you now have
2.
2 minutes for your closing
He
statement.
never does.
Like
He did
some of the
once.
By the way,
politicians,
cheese
this
crisps
man
are
is
the
just a
best.
complainer. He said we want to do
People
this,
that
we
are
want to
not
do
from
that, we want to
Phoenix
get rid
don't
of this tax,
understand
that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get, when you're terminally ill, now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves.
And it was
they're
nice.
living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
That's an odd time to end, isn't it?
He was failing fast. He was failing fast.
I know I heard Squishy Pants in there somewhere. Did you mute it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Anderson Cooper.
Yeah. I'm not.
Well, wait. No, I'm not going to listen to him either. Okay, so hold on. Anderson Cooper, he's a Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, a Vanderbilt. Huh.
Mhm.
And then his brother, the one that Trump really can't stand. Kathy
Griffin.
Is it Kathy Griffin?
Mhm.
Yeah, his brother over there. Yeah, interesting. Anyways, so I think we all kind of know how that one went. We know what the press is going to say, and we know that hopefully it will wake at least 2 people up tonight. But we have no idea. Yeah, well, he generally does, from what I understand.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go, F. Glenn. Yeah, probably isn't an insult to him. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. So, anyways, thank you very much for going through that painful experience
We're
with
not
us.
going to end on that, though.
No, we're not going to end on that because we got to do, the other things.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I was wanting to see Max Headroom as well, Bill. All right.
Date the girl who wants everyone to know you're together, the girl who makes her feelings obvious to you, the girl who invites you to see her family, the girl who holds your hand in public so boys know she's taken, the girl who misses you when you're gone, the girl who is honest with you even if it's hard for her, the girl who makes plans with you, the girl who introduces you as her boyfriend, the girl who calls instead of texts, the girl who cares about how your day was, the girl who asks to see your beautiful face, not your news, the girl who talks to her mom about you, the girl who puts effort into your relationship, the girl who wants to take cute pictures, the girl who is loyal, the girl who loves you as deeply as you love her. Some people may say this is a lot to ask for, but it's simply respect, something everyone deserves. And there is saying that to love someone deeply gives you strength. Being loved by someone deeply gives you courage.
All right, Santino.
But this is your motto.
No, that's yours.
I didn't pick that about the girl. You did that.
I know.
You don't have anything to say? Well, okay. Well, I guess it was for me. Okay. Well, yes, all of those things. And I think Jenny said this goes both ways. And I agree with that 100%. It does go both ways. We should be devoted to our spouses, our significant other, even if they're not your spouse and you're getting close with somebody. It's a devotion. And that devotion requires sacrifice, and you should be sacrificing to each other. And it's a difficult process because there are so many people in this world, and the way the world has been set up, that people worry about themselves first. And so that act of submission to somebody else is the thing that creates the trust, and the thing that gets you all of those nice to have, touchy-feely things that video was talking about. And I say that it is difficult, but it is something that is attainable. But we have to be aware at the same time of the red flags, and we have to see that that person is willing to grow, not change, but grow. Don't go into a relationship trying to change somebody. If somebody tells you some things that this is who they are, accept them for what they say and understand that that's, who they are. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if things do match up, then that is important, and you can grow together. And we all have things that we have to go through, but at the same time, it is a process. It's not an easy process. Love is not an easy process in general. It doesn't even have to be a relationship in terms of a loving husband, wife, whatever, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. It can be friendships. That is a growth process as well. Every relationship that we have, have. Every friendship, every whatever requires work, and we have to put effort into everything. And so we need to make sure that our efforts are being put forth in the right places. And then that's what's going to make your life better, because it's the very effort that we put into life is what we get out of it. It's just like when you go do charity work or something like that. You feel whole and fulfilled after you do donate your time to some kind of a charity. And that's how a relationship should feel, that you're devoting your time and your energy and your love to it. And then you should feel fulfilled the same way. And those are the things that let us know that we're doing right. We were talking about the intuition and the gut feelings and everything earlier, discernment. You know, those are the feelings. We should be getting those feelings back. So we need to listen to ourselves, especially when we're putting ourselves into something.
Right. And just to put a little bit of seasoning on that, there's never a time that I don't leave. If I leave the house, the only time I take my ring off is in the shower, and that's because I don't want gunk in it. I'm very picky about that. Or if I'm making bread or, something that's going to be yuck.
Get stuck in it.
Yeah.
In the ring.
That's the only time it comes off my finger, because I am one of those people that I want people to know that my husband is the most important person to me. I love him with all of my heart. And I also believe that friendships need to be the same way as any other relationship. I think you need to work at friendships just like you do with your relationship, because it can't be a one-way street. And I can't stand it when someone says, "Oh, it has to be 50-50." No, it has to be 100-100. You can't do that. 50-50 means you're only both doing half of what you should be doing.
There it is.
Regardless of what kind of relationship it is. And so I just want to say thank you guys so very much for always being here, because you give 100% by being here. And that's why we always want to give 100%
as well.
Well.
I know it's 100% to have to listen to us, and I appreciate your efforts. All right. All right. So it's Thursday night. So we're going to see y'all on Monday, not Monday morning. We'll see y'all on Monday afternoon.
CNN saying?
Biden should step down. CNN saying that 2 minutes after the ending. Well, yeah. There you go. Wendy said that. I'm glad you brought that one up. The one that keeps you a secret is doing so for a reason.
Exactly.
Let that one sink in.
Let it sink in.
Yeah. Yeah. Jan says, now we know why the debates tonight to walk Biden out the door. Yeah, they're gonna try to bring somebody else in. I think that's 100% correct. If CNN's calling for the stepping down of Joe Biden, then we're gonna start to see some changes here soon. Who knows what they're gonna do? Yeah, I know. Damn it, here comes Friday.
I know. Trust me, on Friday night, all we do is talk about you guys.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, but at the same time, we get
too.
we get stuff done at the same time. So there is that. Yeah, they're saying that Biden isn't fit. Well, that's a good thing. So anyways, yeah, y'all go off and have an amazing weekend. Do something that's going to take up this time, something that's going to fulfill each and every one of you. So that way your hearts are full as we take on Monday next week. So we want to give each and every one of you thanks for showing up. Y'all make our day better.
Tons of hugs.
Tons of love.
And tons of love.
Yeah, we appreciate each and every one of you. So we'll see y'all on Monday on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Rumble, and pill.net.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment and hit that thumbs up if you're over on Rumble or YouTube. Smash that heart if you're over on X, and take that red pill if you're over on Pill.
There we go.
We love you guys so very much. And
Y'all are
I
awesome.
do miss you when we're not here.
Have an amazing weekend, everybody. We love you all. Have a great weekend. God bless and be safe.